Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to day two of the ANZ closed qualifiers for the Rainbow Six Invitational. I'm, of course, Matty B, and I'm joined by none other than Mr. Cthulhu. How we doing today, brother?
Doing pretty good, doing pretty good. Quite excited after watching all of the matchups that happened yesterday. Quite actually keen to get into firstly the lower bracket matches that we have today, and then see how will the grand final for this unveil as well.
Yes, double elimination bracket as per usual. First matchup for the day, it's going to be the boys from Homeless taking on Fury. Interesting matchup to say the least. You know, we've got Homeless, a team that's sort of been on the rise as of late, finally qualifying for Pro League. They get those upset wins occasionally. They've done so in the past. Now, a deep run into this bracket puts them in a good spot to almost make this final.
Yeah, I mean they already made a few upsets, at least in my eyes as well. They managed to get a pretty solid win over Mindfreak from the get go, and then managed to get through nearly get through Oddity as well. And then in the lower bracket, already managed to reach pretty much technically the semi-final. And all in all, yeah, versing Fury should be a pretty nice matchup, really.
I think it's going to give us a really good indicator of where they're really at as well. Now that
Yeah.
they're going to be playing against these teams a lot more frequently now. They're going to play against teams like Fury, Oddity, and Fnatic a lot more. So this is a really prime opportunity for us to see how they're going to compete with some of the better teams in our region, and what better way to do it than in the lead up to qualifying for the Six Invitational, one of the most prestigious tournaments on the calendar for our game. And it's a bit different this time around, of course, as well. I think this is like probably the first time I can recall seeing Fnatic have to play the bracket.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think Dev mentioned it yesterday that it's like first time in 2 years where we
Mm.
see the roster that is now Fnatic having the need to actually go through the online and then the APAC line qualifiers to actually, um, hopefully for them, secure their spot for the Invitational. And if they don't, well, add this to a yet another upset that happened so far within the big teams, actually throughout the whole world. But yeah, no, it's definitely should be interesting for Homeless. I'm actually quite curious to see how will they perform against Fury as well, because this invitational qualifier, as far as I remember, this is the first time when they having also a coach on their roster as well, who is I believe a De Wolf, who's from EU, and for Homeless, it seemed to have actually done quite some good stuff, really, considering that. Uh, from what I saw, they've been quite well coordinated on most of their attacks and most of their defenses as well. So this is definitely a looking up to be a pretty solid matchup all in all.
Yeah, I think that's an exciting thing. And then when you come against, the Fury guys, always a team that's sort of, challenging the other lineups across the region, haven't quite, found their own personal success as of yet. But there's still plenty of experience to look at on that roster. So it's going to be fantastic to see how Homeless begins to shape up in terms of, I guess the Australian meta, so to
Yeah.
speak. And, looking at the maps we have coming up today. So we're going to be starting up on Clubhouse, which will be Homeless's pick. Fury will be starting on the attack. How do you think that's going to shape up for us?
Clubhouse, I reckon the first half at least of Clubhouse is definitely going to go, I feel, in favor of Homeless. They played Clubhouse on a fairly frequent basis, so I'm quite curious to see how will this pull off. Main probably issue is going to be the attack for Homeless. But that's for a fair few teams, really. Its defense is always way better. I feel that probably Clubhouse will go into towards Homeless. Um, for the second map that we will be seeing, we will be having Border and then Cafe on the decider. I already had a little bit of a rant about this. Cafe at this point is becoming the ANZ map where it's literally each and every team nearly picking it. Cafe honestly is definitely going to be. I definitely say this is Homeless map. So if one way or another Fury does manage to bring back Border and we are looking at a one apiece scoreline closer to the end of this best of three, then I would say that the decider map is definitely in favor of Homeless here.
I would have to 100% agree with you there as well. I feel like if it makes Clubhouse so much more important now for Fury when you look at that veto. If they can, and I mean, I back them in this scenario more so anyway, where if we're starting off on Clubhouse, if they're to win this series, it's going to have to be 2-0, right? So they're going to have a pretty, substantially decent attack to start off with, which they might be able to just edge out Homeless with a bit of their experience. But as you said before, this new addition of the coach, and we're seeing it like almost a revamp Homeless now after, barely missing out on Pro League last season, a really good run at the Six Masters now, finally qualifying for Pro League, and now a deep run in this bracket. Like, it's very much like a teetering scale, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's definitely been quite something, honestly, to witness. And even for Fury, albeit that they did get knocked out on their second matchup in the upper bracket where they had to verse Fnatic. Honestly, initially, I didn't expect them really to make it as far. Probably Fury players will actually back me up for saying this, but nonetheless, they exceeded my expectations. Like, managed to beat Mind Freak, managed to beat, let's take a look, Team Sinister, and that's already a much brighter performance comparative to what we saw them perform in the last season of Pro League. So, all in all, Fury are looking like they just might make potentially another upset, but that's a big question mark, though. At least for me.
I would say Fury winning this is an upset, though. I feel like this is. I can't pick a clear cut favorite in this series. I have this is definitely like one of those coin toss matchups. Like, even if you look at the run for the bracket for both teams, like even Homeless, their run has been pretty rough as well from the get go. But they managed to get that good start though. 2-0 Homeless. Second round of the upper bracket, they face Oddity. Like, that's just like a rough gig from the get go. But they take a map off them. They get that 2-1 scoreline, so that's already like impressing me. They drop down, easily dispatch of Vanquish, and now we find ourselves here. A cheeky little lower bracket final, I guess, so to speak, versus the boys from Fury.
Yeah, and the thing with Fury is that if it almost feels to me, at least back in the Pro League season, is that a whole lot of teams underestimated them, and then when Fury are pretty much when not really a whole lot of people really are rooting for, and Fury are in definite underdog status, that's where they pull off some filthy stuff. Like we saw, the first half of the Pro League, they managed to beat Fnatic on Cafe, and it was a flawless Cafe defense. They didn't drop a single round. Same went at the end of the Pro League season where they had to verse Oddity. Nobody expected them to win. I believe that was a consulate, and they managed to pull off some just a fantastic win. So I'm not completely discarding Fury, and I definitely think that if they will bust out like all their best, they very much have the potential to actually take down Homeless. So curious, and if that will be the case, then we will be seeing actually a last Pro League day rematch, which will be Oddity versus Fury. That will be the rematch of the best of 2 series. Well, this time it's best of 3 going to be, but it's the rematch that decided pretty much who was the last team that qualified for the APAC LAN.
Yes. And that's pretty exciting as well when you get those rematches. You get that history behind the teams. They sort of had that vibe on how each other are going to show up for the series. It makes the vetoes all the more interesting at the same time as well. I mean, like when you I'm just gonna draw it back a little bit away from that potential Fury Oddity matchup for the time being. And when you look at this veto between Homeless and Fury, like, is this the 3 we were expecting to see from these 2 teams?
To be honest, for the most of it, yeah, actually, because Bank and Villa. Well, Villa was a little bit of an underperforming map from my memory for Fury, and it's something that the Homeless were actually able to play very, very well. So that would have been, if I really saw Villa be picked between Fury and Homeless, my first thought is something definitely went wrong there in the thought process. Bank, I feel Homeless can bring can play this as it has a few really nice angles you can play, a few long angles, long hallways as well. But it's not the best one from them. So Clubhouse is definitely something that I was expecting. It was a guarantee that we would see a cafe, because so far the whole qualifier has been literally a game of cafe on 90% of the matchups. And Border, it's something that is already kind of starting to fall back a little bit, but it's a map where if you practice it well enough, if you know literally every nook and cranny on it, you can play out to your heart's content and just you can play it very well. And that's what I feel Fury might have for them going into this matchup.
And like, if you look at, obviously the first tier map picks, Clubhouse and Border, like a couple of the older maps in the map pool, as it stands. So teams are, quite aware of where they want to play it, how they want to play it. They've got a set game plan. They're starting to learn how other teams are playing it. Like, it's one of those scenarios where it's so frequently seen now that it's hard to be innovative. And so it's very much like bread and butter type gameplay. And so it does make for some interesting factors in terms of your preparation, how you look at how a team decides to play the matchup and what they do with that. But then it can also get a little bit stale.
Yeah, and actually, another thing I did wanted to mention, that was mentioned in the text chat as well here, that Warden won't be playing for Fury today, and that is actually somewhat of a big thing because Warden for Fury has been doing quite a fair few things as well, as he was one of the, well, at least in my eyes, he was one of the star players, and he would be able to pull off some really nice clutches and some really nice plays. So Shade playing instead of him can work out pretty well if Shade is on a good day. Apart from that, it's definitely going to be a bit of a hindrance, I feel.
It's always a bit like that, though. Like, when you're having to play with a substitute, like, even though, like, you've been around the team before, it's still one of those situations where you have one of your better players who's such a rock for you in how you set everything up, unavailable, unfortunately, cripplingly ill. I know the feeling. A couple weeks, like, literally last week, chest infection, dead. So, sometimes you just got to take that moment. But they're here now. We're into the series. When we mention that Warden thing, that does begin to just tip that scale back further in favor of Homeless. So, do you want to give me your final thoughts here before we jump into the match, Cthulhu? Where are we seeing this one?
I'm leaning towards 2-1 to Homeless for this one. As much as I love the Fury boys, I feel that this one is going generally in favor of Homeless.
Yes, have to agree with you on that one. I do see if Homeless are to do this, it will be that 2-1 matchup, and I think they are in a very good position to take this one. I'm looking at the vetoes. So, straight into our ban phase. Walk me through what you're expecting here, mate.
Well, Maverick being the first ban is definitely going to be something that most of us are pretty much prepared to see. Secondary ban, it somewhat is up in the air. I'd imagine if it's something radical, then it's going to be Thatcher. If it's something less, then probably Capitao will be banned out. On the defense, Mirror Echo, maybe? Probably.
Yeah, definitely. The Jackal. Okay. Haven't seen Jackal for a while. The play of him has been sort of like he's sort of fallen through the cracks a little bit as of late. A couple of changes, obviously, but I feel like it hasn't really impacted his play too much.
Yes.
So I feel like that ban, the way that I've seen Jackal played, it sort of sits still. It's just odd for
the map. It is a bit of an odd for Clubhouse, and but Jackal has been able to leverage quite a fair few rounds in the competitive play. So even with his rework on the competitive side, he's still a very powerful operator nonetheless. But yeah, for the last two bans, Maestro, Mirror, well, yeah, you pretty much expect Mirror to be banned, and Maestro, it's either Maestro or Echo. It depends on which team likes to play which operator more. And for Fury, kind of banning Maestro, that's one of the heavier used operators for defense. So it's definitely going to be impactful just to a tiny bit. But Warden is not playing, and Warden was the main person who actually used to play Maestro from my memory. So I don't know. I guess we'll see how things will work out from here.
Yeah, looking at it, an instant Church Arsenal site to start us off, taking us down under, quite literally, to get going in the first round. 6 pits coming out there, the Castle off into the Legion. A bit more preventative measures there for that lower defense. Lots of information-based ops as well. The Valkyrie and the oh my god, my words, Mozzie, thank you. it's a Sunday morning. Give me a break. Straight away, plenty of information and counter information at the same time as well with that Mozzie in play.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree. There's plenty of info gathering here, even with the Legion Goo Mines as well. They give pretty good indication of as to where the push may come from. But I would have been quite surprised if we would have seen a castle to come out for the downstairs defense from Homeless, because that is something that is, in general, first of all, quite an orthodox choice from defense teams, and to see it from Homeless, a team that is more or less more aggressive towards how they play, bringing castle will only be a bit of a slowdown for them, really.
You can speak about that aggression as well. Like, just look at this already. These setups, they have players spread out across the map. You could already see they were already getting that early information off the back of Dino as he finds that pit straight away.
And it was a run out.
It was a run out with the Valk Cam. Information straight away. Binga banga bongo. Frags galore, and even down below, Juicy out over towards dirt. Like, he is deep in dirt right now.
Yeah, and just like that. So already they have a play ready. They already have the man advantage, and taking out Buck this early into the round is going to be an absolute pain for them for Fury to actually deal with at the start of the round, because now you're forced to essentially go and be funneled into those choke points with kind of minimal ability to actually get any alternative angles. And that's going to be an issue, at least in my eyes.
I definitely agree with you on that one. Makes this that bit harder. Muesli has a bit of an angle, but then, on the other side, Hayward, again, another pick going their way. That's the Thatcher drop. Now, this is going to make the slate round very difficult for the Fury boys. 2 hard breaches. The Capital is there to play the support role, but as you come down into this lower blue area, a couple of barricades up, coming into the back of the church room as well. Like, there's no breaching potential really there if that Kaid's there's tricking effectively. So it's going to be a very tall ask now for Fury to get back into this round. And if you look at the Homeless boys, they've already rotated across over towards blue. They're very much ready for the offense that Fury are trying to put up here.
Yeah, well, with Muesli finally opening up on Dino, things might be starting to look up just a little bit, but that C4 pretty much denies any of that chance. And yeah, just Strider just goes to town with just a double kill just like that. So all in all, this is a very good start for Homeless, all I have to say, really.
Well, less than a minute to go now. Shade in a 1 versus 4 finds that pick pretty much instantly. Coming down this main hall. You can already see, I think Homeless have already spotted him out too off the back of these cams. That's a great angle there to find Juicy. Just picking them apart slowly. He still has to pick up the diffuser though that has been dropped. So,
yeah.
Rotation across.
Attackers have located a bomb.
You can just see that Homeless, they're just locking this one down. They haven't really moved here. And this mod is really, crucial.
15 seconds to go.
Yeah, the Mozzie will be also the one that will be taking down Shade, and yeah, I gotta say also, we mentioned before that well, I said that Shade was the one to replace Warden. It's actually Golden that is playing as a sub, so Shade. Only after I said it, really, I realized that Shade is part of the core. He is the IGL from my memory as well. So, quick correction there, but. Yeah, throwing a bit of shade there. Yeah, you never know. But all in all, Homeless off to a banger of a start, honestly, because getting that early run out and being able to still roam pretty effectively as a solo pretty much does all the job that you need, really.
Well, I mean, if you look at that as well, the fact that they managed to find themselves with like a minute and a half left on the clock with a 5-on-3 advantage.
Attackers need to locate
a couple of
and
crucial
defuse
operators
bombs.
as well. They lost the Buck, they lost the Thatcher. Like, that straight away, it's just warning signs battle stations of Fury, it's going to be a massive order for them to try and come back into the round. And it wasn't, wasn't able to be done there. Shade managed to pull back that 1 versus 4 and a 1-on-2, of course, but you saw that crossfire there, using that vertical play effectively. Just, sealed the deal there for Homeless to get started.
Yeah, it certainly did, and the Homeless are the team that can actually
10 seconds left
pull off a
before
really
insertion.
nice crossfire and just be able to steadily hold. They, as of recently, has been able to actually work out and perfect their way of like when
Attackers are
do they
moving
pace
out to locate
themselves.
a
So
bomb and defuse it.
this is definitely a good sign for them.
I think you're exactly right about the pacing as well, because it was like so fast in the first 30 seconds with the aggression that they took off the back of Dino, and then they just settled right back down, rotated back in towards the bomb sites, and played, together, creating crossfires, and just supporting each other well with a bit of late round util.
Yeah, it's definitely been their issue for a fairly long while as well. So having that kind of pacing ability is certainly something that I'm really liking what I'm seeing. But right now, what Homeless need to do is they need to play steadfast about how they play this out, because that bandit trick needs to happen. But with the Capitao being having the angle from the garage, Stiggs
Bomb
might
located
be
by
in a
attacker.
whole lot of trouble very soon.
Did you see that bait there, just using the regular breach charge as well, just trying to catch Stiggs out? Actually going up there. And
Oh boy, Stiggs.
That's so good.
Wait, oh, that did work as well. Oh, that is unfortunate timing there for Fury, but nonetheless, they still managed to spook off Stiggs, because man's now on less than half health, and I don't think he will be risking getting enough damage, honestly. Or at the very least for the time being.
Does make it all the more difficult for himself, as even Shade with his back angle now coming through.
A bomb has been located.
On the back of CCTVs, Hayward still making contest, being a generalized nuisance over on the rafters there in the main garage. Fury, like Golden droning in, just trying to clear them out, as we do see a couple of picks coming off on the back end of the map there in towards the bedroom construction area, and that's now isolated these players in the bomb site now. There's 2 players still stuck in towards cash room, and there's that 1 lone player stuck in the rafters in the main garage, and a 5-on-3. This is now a very rough position to be in if you're Homeless.
Indeed, as now Homeless are just literally falling apart. It's all up to Strider, who was roaming, but will be just full-on hunted down. And a flawless round comparative to what we saw in round number 1. Fury decided to bring this back all the way, really. Okay.
It looked like it was a much better preparation for that bomb site in that scenario,
Yeah.
and also that wariness now of the aggression that Homeless were bringing. Like when you do a round like that, like that's a generalized game plan. Like in your early plays in the half, it's like, okay, so we're going to try and set the pace early. We're going to go for early round aggression, get those opening picks, fall away into their bomb sites, just play at the back of each other, use our crossfires effectively. And Homeless tried that again in the early stage. They didn't quite get the information they were looking for. Like Dino didn't really get an opportunity with the Valk, and then it just started to fall apart slowly as Fury were able to pick them apart on the back side of the map, isolate those defenders in the cash room bomb site, and end up with a flawless round.
Yeah,
Defenders,
flawless
protect
round
your
is
bombs
definitely
from
something
being
that
defused
Fury
by
could
attackers.
flex, and that was a very good adaptation as well, I might add, because Fury had a bit of a issue getting a direct breach into CCTV, so instead of trying to redo that again, they just decided to, well, we got the west side droned out, use Sledge to get inside, managed to get inside the construction site as well as the bedroom, use that as your foothold, and then from there open up into cash, and well, we just saw the result of that. They managed to pick off Homeless one by one, and in a very impressive fashion. So massive props.
And I mean, off the back of that, again, we're seeing another bomb site change. For Homeless guys, this time moving in towards the gym bedroom sites. What do you think? Is there a bit behind that, do you think, there? Moving, hard off of CCTV cache so early?
I wouldn't say that this is bad. It's just due to essentially Homeless are kind of feeling out the ground for them against Fury. They need to figure out which site will be the better for them, because even if they lose all of these sites from now on, they still have the ability to retry, and this time they will know how potentially Fury would approach that. So at this point, I would have to say that this is actually a good game plan for Homeless to make sure that, hey, this is how we're going to play this out. So just to kind of know where do they need to emphasize really for each one of those sites.
Bit of floor breaching going in, Shade.
A bomb.
Trying to clear it. Those extremities. Clearing its areas. That does mean that Stigs and Dino now, feel that little bit of heat coming through as they have this wariness now that they've lost control of CCTV. Bit of information, at least with that drone. So Dino, very keen to take that fight. Doesn't quite spot the angle out on his opposite of Stigs. Just tries to get a bit of leverage up. And that's where we do see Fury just again put the brakes on, slow it down a bit. And this is where they're sort of holding their mettle over Homeless at the moment. It's their patience in the mid-round.
Yeah, it's definitely something that is quite noteworthy as well, I gotta say. But with the way how currently things are going for Fury, it's a bit of a back and forth with Flex picking up a kill onto Strider and taking out Castle. For now, it is Dino who will be going big with that double kill, finally being able to assist Stigs with the hold of Cash. And just like that, Fury's foothold and any meaningful ground has been actually lost. So now they need to regain it once again with less than a minute to go.
And like that was the crucial part of their executing to the side as well. The diffuser was there, 2-man push, that cash rune hole. It's going to come in so clutch now. It's Golden just trying to find his way into the bedroom. Does get spotted out though. Good fight to win there. Juicy drops. Tight angle held now as Fleck. You can just see trying to spot out. I think that was Dino there behind the metal. Not even getting that little bit of chip, and it does mean that now Golden, he's now stuck between a rock and a hard place, and Homeless will just clean that one up there in the late round. A 3-piece for Dino, another massive round for him, and another win on the board for Homeless.
Yeah, good prep. They managed. I feel that for Homeless right now, their main kind of objective here is they need to identify where the main push out of the 2 pushes that Fury are planning to do will be happening from and will be coming from, and that's where they need to pretty much suppress it. And that's what they managed to pull off. Dino getting that double kill in CCTV is pretty much was a deal breaker here, because after that you are forced to either try to breach in through the west wall into the corridor that is connecting the gym and the bedroom, and then it's either that or you need to start finding angles through the windows into bedroom or gym, and neither of those ways are really as viable as, say, getting a foothold in CCTV and cash. So it's certainly something that Homeless have gotten pretty good at, is just identifying where do they need to reinforce to fortify themselves, and then where do they need to go from there.
100% agree with you on that one, and that one, like that was so crucial, that CCTV cache hole that they had. As we do see the Homeless boys, they're dropping back down into the church arsenal.
10 seconds to go.
Back to a very similar role setup at the same time as well. Dino back on that Valkyrie.
5 seconds remaining.
Again, gonna try and get this Kaid deep in towards dirt. And
Attackers must locate and defuse a bomb.
think
those
the
aggressive
only-
positions.
Yeah, I think the only change that we see from here is Strider actually bringing in a mute this time, rather than I think he was playing on Mozzie on the first round. So
That was a Legion.
slightly a bit of a... Oh, that was a Legion, yeah, pardon. Yeah, so overall, roster-wise, it is a slight change-up. Dino once again is busting heads. And this time, Buck once again gets unlucky on the peak. And just all in all, Fury, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's this church hold right now for the Homeless boys. It's a fortress right now. I mean, the way that they've played, like, it's those aggressive positionings. This time it was a double run out from Stigs and Dino as well to get that opening pick for themselves. And that's cheese. It's pure cheese from Hayward. The prone drop at the end of dirt, and he's going to push forward as well, looking for more information as Stigs finds Golden. And that's Muesli in a 1v5 now. He's stuck back of blue. The Capitao. It's going to be extremely difficult for him to even just find an opening pick, let alone getting into the site.
Yeah, just as I was actually about to say that Mute is a bit more of a passive play and Homeless are going to dial it down. And it almost feels that Homeless just decided to dial it back up, actually. As this time it's a flawless round. No losses, no anything. Dino and Hayward are pretty much the only two people who actually did see the whole action here.
And that was so clean. Hayward, like that was like clutch getting that dirt hold though. Like we saw that was a heavy presence coming in from Fury, and it was a lot of key factors in their split coming down that way. Like if they take that dirt control there with the Thermite, and I think it was the Sophia that was there as well. Oh, no, it wasn't a Sophia. It was the Thatcher because they had the buck instead. Because they had the buck instead. And like those two coming in from the back line, you have Capitao coming in through blue. They had another couple of guys trying to come in, through the it was the south side, but there was that push out obviously there from Dino. Like it just fell apart off the back of that one man locking that one down.
Yeah.
Attackers need to
just like that. And that's where Homeless do manage to succeed, is just early lockdown and prevention of any kind of gain of what Monkey Fist love to say is meaningful ground. And that's something that grew on me as well. But yeah, meaningful ground is something that Homeless are really good at locking down initially in the early stages of the rounds. And if they do have to forfeit that ground, they'll do it with like pretty much as much force as possible. They will try to deny that for as long as they can. And they're not the team that, well, I say that, but there's a good chance that they are really. But to me, they're not a team that will just easily forfeit out the moment they sense danger. It's a team that will take all of the unpredictable firefights that they can.
And it's really been the case so far as well. Like especially in that Church Arsenal hold. Like it's constant early information into early fights, into solid late round site defense. We saw it's exactly the same as the first round this time. Just it was faster pacing from Fury that was matched equally by Homeless, and that was what shut them down. From the get go in the round. And that's sort of like that sort of trap you fall into when you're playing against an aggressive team, is you try and match that tempo, and from there, like you're not actually set up to play that well. And oh no!
Wait,
what is that? Hayward?
Wait, where did that come? Oh, he used the same angle that Hibana opened up. I don't think Hibana actually expected to have that angle actually shot at her.
That's so rough.
It's nutty. Oh, Stigs. Oh, the Mad Lad. The Mad Lad himself actually keeps on doing it, even with the Fireball on. This time the breach will be successful, though. They know that the Fireball is still there, and Stigs is probably will be low after this Bandit trade. But nonetheless, it was still very nice utility denial even for a slight bit of a time.
I mean, it's still this man advantage, though, is might be concerned if I'm Fury. The 5-on-3, massive damage being done there on the Rock as he just tries to take point in the entry. And that C4, not going to quite connect there. They've fallen away and just needing to be patient here. This man in the garage, they need to find this pick here. Hayward is again in this pivotal position where he can change the entire aspect of the round. But this fight, it's not going in his favor. You see the fall away as Dino, he activates, finds Rock Gold with a quick trade into the side. He'll double down. Juicy drops, and that's found a 2-on-3. It's starting to just slip away for Homeless. If he finds his pick into cash room, not going to be the case, though, as Stig's able to lock that one down. Muesli, the 1v3 into the 1 versus 2 as Rock from beyond the grade catches Hayward, but, less than 20 HP, 40 seconds, a 1-on-2. Strider's got a great position here to just cut him away. Decides to fall off. He has that information now, and Muesli, a very tall order now.
Very tall order indeed, as with 25 seconds left to go, not much can be done, really. Strider has already managed to rotate around, so right now for Muesli, he needs to play this right, and main issue would have been, main thing, what should have been done, really, is you chuck in the smoke bolt, grab the diffuser, fall back to CCTV, climb behind the servers. But unfortunately, that was not the case, and just like that, Homeless do manage to bring things back, so well done. I mean, 1-4 already on the last round of the defense. I'm expecting that we probably will see a 5-1, really.
Pretty bold. I mean, we go back to the gym bedroom site, and again, it was one that we didn't see any successful for Fury. Like that CCTV cache was the one that they looked most likely for a win on. And this time around, they were just completely outpaced. And again, I'm putting that one on Hayward's positioning. Much like that lower bomb site defense in towards dirt, like him being patient and just playing that rock roll, that anchor in a crucial point, in that point of meaningful ground for the offense, was what was the winner for Homeless in my eyes in that round, as last round of the half.
I wouldn't really say that this was per se a Homeless's good play. It's rather, at least to me, it felt that it was a bit of a misplay by Fury here, because if you remember back, so Golden managed to make an entry, got the double kill, and looked like he got a little bit kill thirsty there, because he tried to go into the peak for cash, even though he knew full on he's all alone on site. Muesli was nowhere near the site and wouldn't been able to actually assist Thermite in pushing. So losing that diffuser right in that doorway, and then having Muesli to push on and try to take those firefights again, even with him being 1 on low health and 2 at a man disadvantage, is to me what at the end ended up costing Fury the round. Because if Golden would have been able to just pace himself, get that double kill, he still had the diffuser, and try to go in for the plant, or at least wait for Muesli to come around to help him go for the plant, then it would have been a Fury's round to me.
I had to disagree with that one. I feel like, because the reasoning why I feel like if I'm Golden in that scenario, I'm already at a man disadvantage. My teammates isolated from me because of Hayward's positioning. Like, more so, I guess maybe taking that fight in towards the rafters and garage would have been better for the team overall. But, you know, in hindsight, making that 50-50 call, trying to take that push in towards cash room, like, that's him trying to make a play in a disadvantageous position. It obviously didn't pay off for them, so it's one of those like 50-50 calls. But I think overall, like, it was better positioning from Homeless across the round.
Fair enough. Well, for now though, very nice rotation by Hayward actually ensures that the man will still be in play, but Strider won't, as Flex finally does manage to find some success for himself.
Attackers drop.
What that C4 actually was.
Attackers recover the
I gotta say that. Oh yeah, go ahead.
That was a preset, wasn't it? 100%.
Yeah. Just curious rather where exactly did that explode, but oh, nice read by Flex, actually being able to read in into Hayward's run out. We'll be ensuring that the man advantage will stay in favor of Fury, albeit that Thermite is now down.
Ooh, that's a fight that Stiggs really had to win to keep. This one, you know, balance for Homeless now is looking to make a play there. Juicy catches Rock. That's going to cause a rotation at the very least, but Dino is the man to fall, but that's a diffuser still dropped. And with a 1-on-3 now, Juicy, to his immediate left, does just catch out Muesli. And this makes it just a little bit more doable for himself. They're looking towards that office, but no. Fantastic angle there to clean that one up as Flacco Flex cleans that one up. Have I lost the Russian? I've lost the Russian. If only you guys could see his face right now. It's absolutely gorgeous. He looks absolutely dumbfounded. That's alright. We'll give you a minute. He'll be back. It's just me and you guys. F's in the chat for Cthulhu, please. Alright, well. Into the attacking half now for Homeless at the very least here. It's going to be the Church Arsenal site to start us off here for Fury.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
It's alright. It's alright. It's going to be new for me, guys. Solo Siege. Matty B. Back to the roots. What a fantastic first half there for Homeless at the very least. That last round a bit disappointing on that defense. They were, you know, picked apart. Couple of mid-round aggression that just really was unnecessary, and Fury were accounting for it quite well. You know, Dino 8 kills down that first half. Massive performance from him, backed up there by Hayward. And now with this church defense for Fury, getting off to a good start here. It's going to be absolutely crucial for them, you know, getting that first round on the board. I think it's pretty much, you know, extremely necessary for them to win this map. If they lose this one off, I can see it continue to spiral out of control, and Homeless could just walk away with map 1 here. That's cheeky from Shade. Look, it's more of the same. At this point, you know, using that Valkyrie for a bit of early information. Try and push looking for those early picks. And then falling back in towards the site. And you can just see patience this time around. There's that pacing we saw from Homeless in the first half on their defense, where they were looking for those early engagements and, you know, really pushing for a fight. On this side, though, on their offense, they've just been, you know, holding steady, getting that early information, droning out. You can see here, Flex over towards Dirt. Looking to be the man to lock it down as Strider, the lone player out here, looking towards a potential pick from the stairs. See though, kitchen control taken out. Dino getting that initial breach. No counterplay there, no C4 to try and cancel that one out in there. Using that Thatcher well as Rock. Speedy hands there. Looks to cancel out the Habana. That looks to be the case. And it won't play off just yet though. Doubling down the Thatcher nades. Good breach point here is Fury. They're actually going to move off-site here. Rotating in towards blue. It's Muesli and Shade. Playing these angles. Now with a minute left, it's still a 5-on-5. No picks found for either side here. You can just see Strider looking to take that first point of contact. Taking down the hallway in towards the Arsenal, and they'll continue pushing forward here. Lots of opportunities. Those utilities coming back through. Dino looking for an opening in towards the church, and the breaches are going to come through. This may be the hit, and with 40 seconds left, there's still a lot of utility to play with in the back of the site here. Rock got himself a barricade. He's still got his prongs up on the wall. No ex-Kairos left for Dino as he's still looking for a pick. He's trapped in Memorial. And that's 20 seconds now. They really need to get going, though. They need to start putting a bit more on the gas. There's no picks, no bomb site control. Stiggs finds an opening there onto Golden at the very least. And this is going to be the hit coming hard in towards Arsenal. They haven't cleared out Dirt just yet, though. And that's going to be Flacco triggering out there. Crucial double kill for him on the defense. He'll lock down a couple. That diffuser needs to go down, and there's no time left. Fury win the round on time. What an absolute clutch position there over towards Dirt. They just left it a little bit too long, and Homeless can't quite pick that one up. Thulu's still dead, guys. It's alright. Internet issues from the motherland. It's alright. There's a little bit of an issue there for Homeless. Whoop! Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my god, he's back.
We are back. We are back, yes.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Right.
Well, welcome back, friend. Did you get to see that that round play out?
I don't think I did. I think I was gone into the void around the middle of last round.
Alright. Sick. Alright, well, it was a slow offense from Homeless. Found that the 5v5 with like 20 seconds left, and just a clutch positioning there over towards Dirt for it was Flacco Flex.
10 seconds left before insertion.
Easy win the round out. Double kill there. Just prone in Dirt. Spray down 2 as they were trying to get the defuse. Just clip.
Attackers must locate and defuse the bomb.
Reinforcements in place.
Already seeing a 3-4 scoreline is definitely something that I wasn't well. I definitely did not predict. So for Fury, this is a good comeback, honestly. Being able to take, I'm imagining, round 6 and 7 in a pretty good fashion. Well, in a winning fashion, is definitely going to ensure that Fury are going to be staying in the game for way longer, I reckon.
And just something I touched on before as well. Again, not sure what you've heard because I don't know how the Nets affected you, but just talking about the change of pace this time from Homeless as well. It was very like aggressive on their defense, like looking for those early fights. This time around, it's very much more controlled, like more passive in how they want to play out their rounds. This time though, this is much faster from them. This is not what we saw in the last round. They're going to go for early control over towards this balcony, looking to get that positioning in towards Jim early. Just try and push through.
That's it. It seems what works best for Homeless is just the early aggression, being able to go in for that explosive push. Whereas when they try to go for a much more paced, a bit more thorough push, that's where they seem to be a little bit stalled out on a fair few pushes. And this time it seems like a pretty decent push. Being able to early on take out Mozzie is definitely a pretty good sign. But Hayward being on a slither of health, something that you don't really want, especially on Buck.
I mean, I guess like with this positioning where these 3 players towards the bathroom, they're using the Sophia, the Thatcher, the Thermite all in unison. That's going to get that breach in towards the bathroom. That's forced. You can see Golden to rotate out as his flex. And Music's in a decent position over towards the office. This is where he can sort of, you know, start to draw a bit of attention away so his teammates can, you know, hold that ground for a bit longer as Hayward still pushing forward, looking to try and find Rock here in the back of the cash room, but it's actually going to be Dino that gets that opening pick, and they've cleared out total cash room control, and they're just about to collapse here on this 3-man defense, just trapped in the Master Bedroom now. Stiggs finds one, and that's not looking good there. Double kill for Stiggs, and he finds a 3rd for himself. A flawless round for Homeless. They'll take their 5th.
That was a quality collapse by Homeless, just being able to control pretty much each and every angle where Fury tried to peek, really, and being able to completely deny Fury of that is something that Homeless managed to, just make work pretty, what seemed to be pretty easy, but I'd imagine the comms were quite fired up, at least.
You have to think so, especially when you've got like it wasn't like those previous rounds where it was flawless, where it was like a couple of early like run out picks and then like a solid defense. Like this was like, you know, really fast play, taking a lot of map control, just really stripping away the options for Fury. And it was just that those final 3 kills from Stiggs in just unison like that. It's just, it makes you feel chuffed when you hit like a spray like that.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Yeah, definitely have to agree on that, but for now it's a defense for Fury on CCTV, and I'm kind of curious, comparative to how they've approached the attack, Fury seem to have at least, they had a pretty decent overview of how they would play it out on the first few rounds of this map, but the moment they had to after Homeless managed to get a read in as to how will Fury push, it was a bit of a 180 really. So I'm curious to see how will Fury really approach here, as seems that it's a bit more towards the early Pro League season meta, where you would have an ACOG in the face of Doc sitting around the rafters and playing from there, as the rest of Fury roster will probably just play around the eastern stairs and the cash room. So something that is already proven the meta that it's rock solid. So let's see how Fury will approach it with all the explosiveness that Homeless do.
Again, I feel like this is, ooh, look at that, early down there from Muesli. Not what you want to start off with. I think I think that was like a bit of self damage. I don't think that was anything from the Homeless guys, unless I'm just dead blind. That might be the case. There is Breach is going to come through here over towards the CCTV area. Very early again for the Homeless boys. Oh, that's a crucial pick as well.
Yeah, it's just Homeless are not taking any any hostages here. They're just going full on blast in. Look, just two-man push just like that. Flex needs to go in for the push. Won't be actually able to land any shots on Strider and will be actually going down. And look at this, they're all on site. Almost all 5 of them are on site.
That's like a 1v5 already. Like, it took 40 seconds to take that site. Like, they just weren't even looking at Sticks. Like, he was just in. Golden, able to find at least one. He's already tagged down to half HP. They're double pushing him. It's done. Sign seal delivered. Homeless, 6 on the board. Map point for them on their own pick as well.
Jeez, that was like talking about explosive round. This was it. This was the round for Homeless to shine on, and they made it count, honestly. Both seconds-wise and the kills, really. It was just about nearly a flawless round.
The last 3 rounds have just been Stiggs just going sicko mode. Like, he's gone in, multi-frag. He's playing that entry role, like, superbly at the moment. Like, it's just been, like, that kill switch game. That first round of the half, it was too slow from Homeless. It wasn't what they look like. Like, it doesn't look like their type of identity and their playstyle, that slower play. They took a lot of, meaningful map control, but it was too little too late. They didn't win that one on time. This time, these last 3 rounds, they've just changed the pace. They're moving faster as a unit. And now, they're just all over Fury. Fury are just not able to match this pace at the moment.
Yeah, they just send it all the way to the side without really carrying it. This has been kind of a trend for a fair few teams, actually, as of recently. By the way, 11 kills.
Yeah,
Dino and Sticks, by the way. But
that's crazy.
We'll get back to that. Yeah, we'll get back to that in a second. But it's a trend that I've been seeing for a fair few teams actually happen on a fair occasional basis. Because the moment the team starts caring less about how fluent their push is, how much ground do they take, they just want to win, they just go in for the kills, that's where they exceed. That's when they care less for how they play and they care more about how to get those frags and how to get under the skin of the other team. That's where they start to win. Even when the old fabled Fnatic versus EG that everyone has already known by heart, that's when Fnatic couldn't care less about what's the outcome of the match. They just played it out, they had fun, and they brought out probably one of the biggest upsets of global pro league by those times. So same comes here. Homeless they don't care. Maybe they don't think that Fury is that big of an adversary for them, but all in all, they just send it.
Like, if you think about it, right, like, at its core, like, just click heads, lol.
As funny as it sounds, it is, yeah.
Like, just click heads, bro. How hard is it to just get a kill? Like, honestly, like, get a grip. Oh, that's a foot. I don't think Dino spotted that one. Up from above, and he's just looking for, a way to get this opening here. And there we go, the angle peak there. That is like millimeter thick. That headshot there on the Golden, and that's another opening. And that's where Fury have struggled across the entire map. Haven't brought it up just yet, but like, opening picks has been a massive leak for them in almost every round so far, especially the ones that we've actually seen Homeless take here. And look at this, very quick over towards Memorial. You can see this rotation having to come through for Rock. Already just pushed right back over into the hall, and a minute on the clock. This time around, the last time they attacked this lower bomb site, it was very slow, but you can see there's a lot more intent from Homeless.
A bomb has been located.
Yeah, well, with one person already down, and that is Legion for Fury, things might be starting to look a little bit odd, but Dino is already sending it again. This time will be punished, though, as Measly will be taking him out, but Juicy on the refrag, certainly going to enable things even more. Strider, that is a filthy angle to hold.
That's tight. Now, it's really a massive ask for Rock there. He falls, and Strider makes this one another 1 versus 4 that the Fury boys have to try and contend with. A diffuser going down, the smoke babe deployed, and he's got himself pinned down in dirt. This is unwinnable. Like, he's locked in. Just run at him, boys.
This was not God's plan for Flex at all, as the man will be going down, and GG for the first map, 7-3 for Homeless to take, and boy oh boy, were those rounds that Homeless did take were explosive.
Especially that offense was just like we saw like pacing and intent on that defense, but like that was just a whole nother like level of authority taken for Homeless. And MVP Dino, could never doubt that. I mean, just look at that, 12 kills for himself. You could argue Stiggs' case as well. I mean, Dino had a more impact across the entirety of the map. On the other Stiggs though, like he was just something else on that attack.
Yeah, just overall, the way how Homeless played, for stats people, they would say probably Stiggs and Dino did all the work, but you take a look at the other three players from Homeless, and they've pitched in pretty well. It wasn't just all of them sitting on 1 or 2 kills. It was a stable 6 to 7 kills where they mattered the most, really. So, yeah, Homeless are doing some great work of their whole positioning, and even playing with Juicy, who is actually, I believe, their sub. Overall, this is some fantastic turn of events, really.
Fantastic turn of events. A 1 map advantage in this best of 3 series. Coming up, we bought up. Don't you guys go? We'll be back after a short break. G'day guys, welcome back. Very short break for us here, but we are continuing on with the Rainbow Six Siege Invitational ANZ qualifiers. Day 2 of the closed ones. Matty B, Cthulhu, we're here. More action. Map 1 just wrapped up. It was a 7-3 scoreline in favour of Homeless on Clubhouse as we now head to Border.
Yes, and Border is one of the is the map that got picked by Fury during the map pick and ban phase. And when we were initially in the pre-show, we were talking that Border might be looking like it's gonna go into Fury's hand. But after what I saw, honestly, on the Clubhouse, I'm a little bit concerned for how Fury will play it out. Because even though they are bringing in Warden this time, so Golden is back onto the bench, Warden is back in a core lineup for this matchup. I'm really curious how will this impact the play, because we saw even during open qualifiers, I believe that was Rhythm boys will probably hate me for reminding them for that, but when they played with Yoshi, who was their sub, they had a pretty good coordination all in all. The moment they swapped over to core, things didn't really look as impressive as one would really want it to see. So could be a similar case here for Fury, but Fury is also a pretty already known PL team. So maybe that won't impact them as much, considering that Warden is already a nutty player from the get-go. So hopefully for them, they can pull off a map, but I'm a little bit concerned right now.
Yeah, and I mean, like we said it at the start of the show, like we felt like if Homeless was winning this, it would be that 2-1 scoreline. Like, but like now, we could be seeing a potential 2-0 here if we see that same sort of play that we had from Homeless carry over on towards Border. And again, like this is Fury's map pick, obviously. But to say that, you know, Homeless don't have a chance on it is a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, well, honestly, with Fury to start things out on defense on Border, I definitely would say that at the very least, this will be a bit in favor of Fury on the first half. But let's see how will Homeless approach this, because so far on Clubhouse, they've shown some very explosive action on offense after they managed to actually adjust as to how Fury play this out. So if they keep up the same pacing, maybe we'll see a 2-0. Who knows? So it's really a matter of how much Fury would want to pace things down and how much pace can Homeless keep up.
And I feel like if we see that same level of play that we saw for their offense that we saw on Clubhouse here on Border, because like Border's one of those maps where you can play it similarly. You can go on your defense. There's a lot of options to go for those early picks. You can try and, you know, do some double peaks together, get that early information with the well plays Valkyrie. Depending on how the pick bands go here as well, that's something we have to really consider before we even think about how these two are going to play. As we're going to jump into the game now. So once again, like, just walk me through what you're expecting here in the bands, Cthulhu.
I mean, from the get-go, I'd imagine one of the hard breaches will be banned out, depending on how much both the teams play Hibano or Thermite or even Maverick. But I'd imagine probably Thermite will be the one to get the ban here. And there it is. For the second ban, tempted to say Thatcher, really, but that's going to be a bit of a shot in the foot for both of the teams. So either Capitao or Jackal, really.
I think the Jackal might be like better placed on this map, but it's actually just gonna be a Blackbeard ban. Okay. A bit of a spanner.
Yeah, that is that has set even our admin on production into a bit of a questioning position. But
what?
All that we see is just a what in the text chat. But nonetheless, it could be a target ban, could be not. Maybe it's just neither of the teams that want really to verse that. Mirror to be banned out on Border is something that we're pretty much accustomed to see on 99% of the map that is being played competitively in ANZ. For the last one, Maestro or Echo, depending on, probably more towards Maestro, as Fury do know that Homeless can play it out also quite well to a hefty degree. So no, this time it will be Echo. Okay, so either one of those is usually bound to be banned out, and it's
Yeah.
a pretty safe bet, even to the point that it's as safe bet as Mirror most of the time.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with you on that one. I feel like the Echo there, like I think the way he plays prevention on border is obviously different to what we would see on Clubhouse. So I think the Echo sort of fits a bit better here in terms of like the play style for the map. First round, we're going to see the ventilation workshop site picked out here for Fury's defense. What do you look into that one as a tone setter, I guess, Fury, and how they're going to play off into this map already down by 1?
As a tone setter, I would say that Fury are looking into breaking the ice a little bit here, considering that usually what you used to see on border is just upstairs armory and locust defense, and then using the ventilation and workshop as a secondary site. This time, Fury going in and prompting for the primary site to be used for ventilation and workshop. Things might look just about right for their defense to initially kind of throw off the offense of Homeless. And actually looking at Homeless's roster of the operators, it definitely looks like a little bit more flexing towards actually dislodging the upstairs defense hold from the from down below. So bringing in that IQ to get rid of those bandit charges from below to be shot out, having that Thatcher on the backup, and then Dino and Strider on that kind of explosive duo to push. So Nomad will be watching the back, Ash face checking literally every quarter and going in for the frag. So probably that's what Homeless attempt to go in for. But honestly, it's a 3-man push just like that. Oh my goodness.
They're going in.
Oh boy.
That's the definition of sending it.
They missed the defender.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. He's still there. He's still under the desk. Nobody even checked him. Oh wait, no, that's a down flex. Never mind. So it is a 2v1 right now for Strider, unless Warden picks flex up. Okay. Well, now it is a true 1v2 situation, as Strider will be trying to find the angle, and he has pretty much 2 minutes to do that, so he has full-on freedom as to what does he want to do throughout the whole round, as all of the action pretty much happened in the matter of less than a minute.
That was like planned from Homeless. Like they had that read on that site very early on, and they tried to just bum rush it. The no-brain Ash main running in and didn't pay off in any manner. I mean, those crossfires from Fury, they were very well prepared for that one. And like, look at this one here. They're playing together. They're playing for a trade instantly here. And it's a very big ask, even off the back of these little bits of utility that Strider still has to play with. I really just do not see him winning this one out.
Yeah, well, he will be trying to get the bait going in for the sound cue as well, as Flex managed to finally spread out from the dock, so potentially could make it work. But those flashbangs blinding Strider as well, definitely not God's plan here. Nice 1v1 situation right now to go for, as Doc needs to now land the shots.
No.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
there it is.
That was a real good shout there. But just the timing there, Ward, and that's what they were missing. A bit of late round patience in some of those scenarios. He's back, the man, the myth, the legend, and Fury take the first round this time on the defense after an interesting chain of events, to say the least.
Interesting would probably be at this point even an understatement, really. Here, as honestly, this was bound to be a train wreck for either side. If Homeless were allowed to do that on the first round, that would have been pretty much the pace that will be set for the whole border. But thankfully probably even for us as well, Fury did manage to repel that at the end, even though it was a 1v1 situation. But nonetheless, well done. Fury did manage to kind of get themselves recovered, and they, to a certain degree, knew that was bound to happen. And that Ash went down very quickly the moment that breach was open.
Yeah, like it was just, it looked very cluttered in how they approached it. Like, obviously you had your three key components. You still had your hash, you had your IQ, and I think they had the Thatcher with them, which, you know, that's pretty much all you really need to get that soft breach going on. And
I think that
they got the
Nomad
opening.
before insertion.
You think it was Nomad? It might. Yeah, I think you might be right. You're probably right, honestly. You're probably definitely right anyway. But like, they had what they needed to get in, but like, the one line that they ran through, it was just like 3 guys just instantly flick their heads that way. It's you're in the wrong neighborhood. Like,
You picked the wrong house.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I definitely have to agree. The way how Fury ended up playing out and reading in that the breach was just about to happen and pretty much shut down that whole aggression in an instant worked out to a certain degree pretty well. Albeit that they did end up losing like what 3 people also in a matter of what less than a few seconds really. So overall, I'm also liking that position from Muesli as well. It's a very to a certain degree potent position, just as I said that he gets shot, but nonetheless it still has a good rotation potential for him, and he's not really trapped there at all.
And it is also, it's just like, you know, really pivotal information. He's got that ACOG at the same time, so we can take a lot of fights over these angles. I very much agree with what you're saying in terms of, you know, how good that position is. That was a one tap. You just heard the solid thud there as Strider just drops. And oh no, Muesli. That's not what you want to give away after getting that early advantage. Is at least Shay refrag straight away back onto Hayward, and the positioning here from Rock, it's going to be solid, but they've just spotted out the legs, so they're ready to make their run in towards the security lounges. Dino gets through. That Grisalt mine does trigger.
Yeah, right now Rock needs to land his shots, and he won't be doing that anymore, at least for this round, as that now leaves Flix and Warden to kick things off. And out of all the people, I would say that it would be Warden to end up pulling the clutch if the clutch would have been done. But right now, Fury, I still, even with the one-man disadvantage, they still have pretty good ground to play off. Because yes, CCTV control is nice and all, but not having the control of the hallway, not having the control of offices or fountain for that matter, well, now they do, I say that, something that you don't really want to flex. And just like that, Homeless are the guys that will be taking that round as well. Just like that. Decided to go in for the duo push. The moment Warden decided to peek out, that's pretty much all that she wrote.
There was a couple of crucial frags that Fury gave away in that mid round there. The one on Muesli and the one on Rocks, which is what really like let the round fall away for the Muesli. Caught rotating, Rock just really not committing to a fight and getting punished for it. And that's how, like, because there was that man advantage straight away for Fury off the get-go. They had a 5-on-4, and off those 2 picks, like, it starts to snowball away. You said they had those crucial points of control still for the defense. They could make that 2-on-3 work, but then the way that they were rotating to try and match what Homeless were doing, they're falling into the trap of trying to play against how your opponent's playing and not sticking to the game plan that you've already established.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say that for Muesli, it was quite unfortunate as he got stuck trying to go in for the vault. But yeah, with Rock, I full on agree with you, Matty. As just he was not 100% ready to go for that firefight at all.
Even though like he knew his mind was triggered, like.
Yeah, and you gotta also say that trying to use the Scorpion to contest an L80,
10 seconds left before insertion.
that's gonna work out quite well unless you're actually just a headshot god. And I don't think Rock was really ready to be one as well on this point. So a bit unfortunate for him, but all in all, still good push for Homeless nonetheless.
Not bad, good souls.
Not bad.
Every time I think, yeah, not bad, like I can't help myself. We're moving back. We're moving back down below though this time around. You know, customs will be our main point here, as we do see Shade again playing as a man over towards the security room. And again, we'll see Homeless look to get that upper level control there. As you know, Juicy, come on, man. Come on, bro. Just click heads.
Juicy is still adjusting to his clicking heads position out here, but for now, Dino with the coconut will be the man to get the shot there, as Rock just decides to go in for the punish, as just like that, a double kill for Fury.
Stig's really forcing them out of here. Oh. Finally catches Warden. That's a double kill for him. And that's the advantage, just flip right back. And this is like what I mean. Like when you see like Homeless is setting up, they're trying to get these aggressive picks like early. Like it's not as fast as what we saw on Clubhouse, but they're still looking for those fights. And Fury are they're falling into this trap of now forcing these gunfights. Like they're trying to force the trade straight away. You don't necessarily have to do that. You still have control of the bomb site. You still have decent, you know, meaningful map control. But you're playing into this mindset of numbers now. And it's playing right into how Homeless want them to play. Is again a 2-on-3. Rock and Flak are really, you know, they're off the site now. It's going to be like they have to play retake at this point.
I certainly will, and even though the site control has not been really full on taken yet by Homeless, it's still one of those plays that really you don't really want to be on site with so many angles actually already opened up. But yeah, I gotta also point out that Stigs has been loving that aggressive nomad play with the AK. Even on Talking Siege podcast, he mentioned that he doesn't play nomad as something that is like a semi-support operator. He goes in for the big brain play, goes in for just in-your-face play, and that holographic on the AK is usually doing wonders, really. 40 rounds, all you really need.
Play it going in. Rock making a bit of noise there as Flacco does just get the one off the C4, but ooh, cheeky frag there for Rock. That's now the 1 versus 1, and Strider has to clutch that out, but just a solid headshot there is just diving across. Homeless find their second, and these rounds, they're going right down to the wire still, but I just feel like Fury, I keep saying it, they're falling into the trap of changing how they play to match what Homeless is doing, and it's not helping them.
Yeah, Fury almost as if they're trying to play the same playstyle as Homeless, but it's not what they accustomed to, really. And Gaz actually managed to make a point as well that Fury would have been probably fairly easy to VOD, since that 90 hold that Muesli had on the previous round, as well as even this side hold, the tertiary side in the customs, was played yesterday as well.
Attackers need to locate
and
defuse as many bombs
if Fury keep on trying to kind of keep recycling their strats against Homeless, the team that does and is able to do VOD reviews and just counter strat the other team, this is not going to work out quite well.
No, I'd be a little bit uncomfortable with just the thought of that. They're watching me, and I don't know it. Again, like, this is the same setup we saw them run just before. In the same setup. That is so clean. The girls in the controller, Craigasm, am I right, ladies and gentlemen?
Guz for global observing, am I right? Actually, Guz in the sky on the duo. That was quite nice as well. Either way, we're back to the armory and lockers, and Fury, when they played this site before, it was a decent start. Warden was able to get a nice one tap before the whole collapse happened, and Muesli is playing the very same position, but hopefully this time he won't be actually getting stuck in the hole, so we'll be able to actually vault and rotate back to the safety. So let's see how this will play out, but apart from that, really, he needs to keep holding his ground steadfast, and maybe even having an ADS there would have helped, but that push from the east stairs is going to be a bit of a pain to deal with.
You can see that Shade's right there, though, at the same time. Like, this is something that can be contested as they continue to look just for a little bit more. You do see Muesli's actually rotated down towards the stairs. He's been forced back there. The hard breach comes through, but like, this is what we saw that he could do last time, was play away from that 90 degree. And he's still got all these beautiful sightlines to play with. He's still got that ACOG and take these long range duels. Like, It is a very nice defensive setup, and this time around, like, positioned a lot better. As if you look at that, Rock is borderline dead, but Muesli uses that great angle there as he's rotated all the way back over towards the armory lockers. And that ACOG at range finds an opener.
Yeah, with Shade already picking up a kill into the main aggressor of Homeless, that is Styx, 3v5 is certainly something that Homeless don't want to look at right now, right? And the moment their whole aggressive pace is throttled down, that's where they start kind of falling, really.
Yeah, just faltering at those later hurdles. They can't quite get their way in towards security room now as he spots the real one. Rock finally falls at the back of the lounge, but still Warden, massive line there, huge angle. These ACOGs are ripping apart Homeless right now as they do get spotted out there. Hayward does just trigger the alibis. And what a frag there onto Warden. I think this one would be the 1 versus 4 if he wins it out, and it does still look unlikely. 30 seconds, still has to pick up that diffuser.
Attackers have recovered their diffuser.
Yeah, with 20 seconds left to go, not much can be done really by Hayward. Just like that, a nice crossfire that Fury had set up will be pretty much scoring the round into their hands. And gotta give it to Fury. This time they were prepared for what was to come from the HL lineup.
As I say, it's leveled 2-2. You can already see that it's a much tighter contest in how the rounds are playing out, in how the scoreline sits at the moment, of course, as well. But you just feel like when Fury play their game, they look much better on this map. When those 2 rounds that Homeless won was when Fury were trying to match how Homeless is playing. And it just does not work for them. Like, just stick to the game plan that you've prepared one. When you look at a matchup like this for an important qualifier, you've obviously done some preparation. You know how you want to play against the teams that you're expecting to play. And I would expect to play Homeless deep in the lower bracket at the very least if I'm Fury. And I mean, just play what you've prepared for. Don't change it because you've seen something different from Homeless. Stick to what you've prepared for, or you find yourself in this discomfort zone.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
Yeah, and looking at the overall scoreboard for both teams, it is pretty much just about the same scoreline, even for the same set of players, even almost. But yeah, Fury, whenever they manage to set the pacing in their favor, when they do manage to make it so that the angles work in their favor rather than being the issue for them, this is what makes things work here. And I like those ADS positions this time, having a little bit, moving them up and down, making sure that Homeless will be forced to kind of keep checking all of those angles consistently. Means just more time wasted for Homeless, and this is exactly what Fury want. They want to tone down all that aggression that is coming from the Homeless lineup. Nobody's pushing those east stairs as well, so as it stands for now, for Fury, they just need to keep holding their spots. They don't need to go anywhere further. They don't need to overextend, and just like that, finding that drone should be able to give them a clear indication that, hey, a push might be happening pretty soon.
Oh, that's just such great awareness from Warden. Here's the sand cube, posts up on the line. Hayward just punished for a bit of aggression there. Stiggs, he's looking for a chance at the refrag, but Warden's positioning in this hallway, like, he's just rock solid at the moment as Dino needs to find another way through.
Yeah, for Dino, he did manage to open up one of the wall patches, and with a grenade coming out, it will be actually eaten up by yet another ADS, so luckily for Warden, he'll be playing on a very good, solid position, and Muesli and Shade to take out Juicy and Stiggs will be signaling that HL lineup will be having a whole bunch of issues right now, being in a 2v5.
Yeah, this is exactly what the doctor ordered here for Fury. And there's just been no real, like, adaptation made from Homeless. They're struggling versus this hold in the upper level. This isn't even the site, but they want to get that vertical map control as Warden finds a double for himself in the round, and Strider the last alive. Diffuser in tow, but a 5-man advantage to try and pull back from. It does manage to find Shade. Aggressive peaks coming out. The run out comes through. He catches Muesli. That's a double kill for him at the very least, but look at this proned. Straight in the doorway. He's not clearing this one. No way, Jose, is he going to catch him through that window.
And not at all. Doc will be playing a little bit more of a pace down position. Won't be peeking, hopefully, for him. Won't be peeking that window. But as it stands, Strider is now pretty much cornered. 24 seconds with barely any health, and a smoke is still in place, so he'll need a miracle, really, and a full-on 3-man lineup to go in for that, and to actually get that win. But as it stands, Homeless are struggling, and really badly struggling. The moment they realize that they are unable to dislodge any of those positions that Fury has themselves set up for, they Homeless can't even find a single frag. Well, in a proper push, rather than trying to just step out of the last moment clutches, really.
And that really shows us that round that Homeless got off the mark with, when we saw the exact same defensive setup held in that 90-degree hallway, was the fact that it fell apart because of a lack of commitment from Rock and his defense in the security room, and unfortunately Muesli getting stuck rotating out. Like, it is just, since then they've run the same strat. Like, they've done it three times this half now. They've won 2 out of 3, and these last 2 rounds that they've won because of it, like, has just been pretty much devastating for Homeless. There's nothing that we've seen for them to really try and get rid of it. Like, the same setup once more. The Sophia, the Habana. We're seeing the Thatcher come out, like, and the Nomad once more. We could see the pace come back from them potentially, but a rush is not what the doctor ordered for them. It's not going to be the trick to getting back into the contest. As this time around, it looks to be Fury just drag away from that previous setup we saw. I mean, if I'm Homeless at this point, I'm borderline expecting it. So again, a bit of a change of pace from Fury, shuffling it up again. I stand corrected, actually. It's still very much happening from above there.
Yeah, and even I feel that even with Homeless knowing where, how the play is going to be, I feel that even smaller things like those Jaeger ADS that ended up chewing up both of those frag grenades from Sledge, it's those small things that make it work, really. And if Homeless are going to keep on being about some of those utility placements, that's where they're going to be having a whole lot of issues as well.
Last round of the half, though, 3-2 scoreline. We saw a 4-2 half over on Clubhouse, which was, of course, Homeless's map pick and their opening in the series. They took that one 7-3, and
a bomb has been located.
Their defense, it's going to have to be huge coming out from Homeless here. I feel like Fury seemed to be on top at this point in time, and they'll carry that over onto their offense. They prepared quite well for this map. It's just looking like a very steep uphill climb for Homeless at the moment.
Homeless's defense will need to be borderline flawless, really, if they want to bring this back, as they wouldn't really have a whole lot of ground for mistake. But Hayward, with a full-on flat-out push with a G8, should be able to ensure an early advantage, as well as that Strider to pick up a kill on Shade. That is a full-on collapse of Fury's defense, and that is not something that they really wanted to go from the beginning here.
It's one of those, well, that's sort of, the way that you break that strat, I guess. You come in from those back calls. There's not really players' position there to hold that one off, and the timing was definitely in favor there for Hayward to get that rotation frag, as Warden now drops. And that's going to be a 5-on-2, and this round is just absolutely just being ripped apart.
Yeah. Warden dodging all the bullets meanwhile as well, being able to keep himself going, but Stigs to take out Rook and finally leave Flicks in a 1v5 situation. It seems that this might be the flawless round, as Homeless did manage to recollect themselves. Nice shot though onto Stigs. We'll be ensuring that Fury will be staying in the round for a little bit longer. But as it stands, really, not a whole lot of angles that Flex can safely hold out here.
A lot of soft walls, overarching positions up from above. He's just pinned down in this corner. Stuck. The definition of a rock in a hard place there. Won't even be able to connect from above. And that's going to be a leveled half there, Hayward. Massive round from him. Huge impact to come out there. He ripped apart that 90-degree hallway. Found that double kill from above. Cleans up the last man down below. And a leveled half scoreline. Now, it was a tale. It was two different stories in that half. And we saw that second storyline, the one for Homeless, regather in the final round of the half there, where their aggression and ability to look for those early fights and just rip apart Fury in the early stage of the round, it was exactly that in that position. Whereas on the other side of the coin, Fury had this rock solid defense in that 90 hallway. And now, moving on to their own offensive side, we get to see what Homeless is prepared.
Yeah, I'm certainly quite curious to see how will things unravel here, as Goyo is seeing I believe that is the first appearance, actually, of him within the competitive scene, as the Ember Rise operators are now full-on available for the competitive players all throughout both the Invitational Qualifiers as well as the Pro League to be used. So I'm curious as to how will Goyo be utilized, because considering how Fury played it out, Goyo's shields could have been quite potent as well to deny some of the area, but I'd imagine at this stage he will be more used like a semi-trap operator, where you use those Goyo shields in a similar fashion to denying the area like smoke.
Goyo would fit really nicely in that hallway hold, I feel like, that we just saw Fury playing. Like, you just put a Goyo shield there instead of a regular one, and like when they try and get rid of that shield, you've just denied area control still, that they can't push forward, take that position away from you instantly. Like, you can fall away from that fight pretty safely when that Goyo trap triggers. So, I mean, like, seeing him get played now, I'm very excited to see what they actually do with him.
Yeah, and considering that Goyo's loadout is very strong as well. You have a Vector, you have a TCSG with ACOG on a 2-speed operator. Things might get funky very quickly here. So he has a great variety of ways how you can play him out. You can play him on lurk, you can play him on anchor. You want to go for face front push with a Vector, you can do it. Do you want to go for long range engagements? You got it. So all in all, Goyo is a very strong operator, and I'm actually surprised that even when Pengu was talking about him as well early on, that not a whole things were really changed about him. Usually before those operators are getting released into the competitive scene, there's some adjustments or amendments made, but that's not the case here.
Yeah, they're pretty happy with what they did, and I guess the only thing I would really do to Goyo is maybe like take one of his primary weapons away and swap it for something else. Because I mean, like, that loadout that he gets it's ridiculous, to say the least. Like, it is just, the fact that he has the choice between those two weapons is insane to me. As the Vector is the point of choice here.
Yeah, I would say that it's not the loadout, it's rather just the amount of the utility that can be used. Let's say one of the two explosive shields maybe to be taken out and make it just only two. But either way, right now, Rock might just be able to dislodge Legion's position, as the man just gets melted. And I mean full-on melted by that Pitts.
That's a good refrag, though. Dino finding one, but Warden's actually creeped his way in towards the B site, and Juicy does find a free frag, at least on the Shade, and trying to connect there again. Warden, Neo from the Matrix, just not copying any of these bullets.
Warden is flat out just doing a cosplay of Boris the Bullet Dodger. The man just does not want to die just yet. And with him still being able to frag out and still on a hefty amount of health, I still reckon that both him and Rock could actually take the firefights pretty confidently here. Wait. Okay, nice job. Getting rid of Maestro is a good start, but with 15 seconds left to go, the plant needs to go down on the double.
That's like actually a good just deterrence there, but no, the peek through there. Strider and Stigs just team up there, the double team, the double kill. Cheeky little way to wrap the round up there.
Yeah, that was a well done play by Homeless, albeit that I was just about to say that if that plan would have been successful and Warden, if Warden hit those shots on the Mozzie, that would have been a Fury round. But nonetheless, Homeless did manage to steal that away from Fury, and with a pretty good play. Ventilation room and a workshop to be picked as a secondary site for them. So curious how different it's going to be to how Fury tried to play it, but as far as it looks, Homeless are planning just about to use just about the same lineup, really.
Yeah, just missing the Mozzie. No, they had a couple more changes. Like the Mozzie's there. The Legion's gone. And the Goyo. Yeah, it's pretty different.
Yeah, it is pretty different.
It's alright.
Either way, a pretty solid still lineup of operators, nonetheless, and potentially might be looking into either bandit tricking or just flat out just passive denial. That flyover over the site was actually quite smooth. Thank you, Guz.
His ego is just flying today.
As we'll be trying to flex after this broadcast. Yeah, I'm the best. You know, I'm the best observer out there on ANZ, and meanwhile, Sky just out there listening. Like, yeah, about that. By the way. Nonetheless, all banter and cheeky memes away. Dino is the one to go out for yet another aggressive peek, and Rock to flop down. That is Ash minused out.
Interesting to see there just as well in the final stage of that prep phase. I think there was 4 bodies for Homeless in the upper levels of the map there, getting like a top-down setup ready to go. But the positioning and the operators picked here for Fury, like they can very much just rush their way in towards the workshop quite quickly. The Striders actually forced back a bit there from some of this breaching that we see in the early stages for the boys on Fury.
Even with the breach done now by Fury and managing to actually level out the man advantage, it seems that they're not ready to stop yet, as Strider is tagged out quite substantially, and Flex only now being taken out after grabbing himself a double kill.
In return, though, a double for Hayward, as Muesli does catch him out there. And that's a 2-on-2, like very fast pace in the round, trying to make their way in towards this workshop. And Shade tagged slightly. The HP advantage is obviously now with Fury. The Strider is extremely low, but there's still a lot of information that can be found here. You know, with the Valk up and the Maestro, those dead players, they have those cams that they can do. That it's really like a lot of these pieces in this puzzle are starting to really shift for Homeless in terms of the stream.
A bomb has been located.
Yeah, I would imagine that the drone economy is not the brightest right now for Fury as well, so it's certainly something that a fair few teams are occasionally lacking. So hopefully for Fury, they will be able to bring this back. They have already an opening, so they might just use it for a walk-in hole into the side. But as it stands, Wood needs to start already making his way over to his teammate if he wants to get either a successful trade or at the very least go in for the pincer, because that Maestro is going to be a thorn in the side of Fury, even with a slither of health.
We can see he's already adjusted his positioning. Thatcher charge does come out, so the diffuser will be going down, and Shade's got that plant pretty much on lock there, but you can see from above there that the angle is not quite there for Stigs. As you can see the rotations coming back across now. Warden and Shade fall away, as it's going to have to be some form of a drop down, you would think here. Is that just to mask a drop down potentially there? C4.
Could be. But nonetheless, Strider is already going in for the push, and there's the, I believe the crossfire is already set up. So right now, a successful double push should ensure that there will be the control. But Warden on the flank Potential will be able to ensure that that's not going to happen at all, as Strider is the one to go down finally. Fury to get the round as we back to 4 apiece, I believe.
There's a much closer display in the late round. That you can see that Fury really took their time with that one, just to really make sure they got that one right. They knew that there was a player tag down low on the back of the site. They had that information going for them. The only thing that they weren't really aware of was where Stiggs was in the late round. They got rid of him. Good times. And they win that round out there. There's 2 players you're managing to lock down a good crossfire. And good pieces of awareness as well for Warden to take that initiative and go for that flank halfway through that post play.
Yeah, I was just about to mention, Warden's flank pretty much sealed the deal there, because neither of the defenders knew where Warden was, as all of the Valk cams were actually denied.
Defenders, protect your bombs
And
from being defused by attackers.
the moment the plant went down, they didn't try to stay and hold it close and hold the diffuser close to their heart. They bailed out, had those angles and breaches opened up, and pretty much for Warden, it was a very good game sense call to go in for that flank. So massive props to Fury, massive props to Warden as well to be able to read it in. But I want to get your opinion on that operator change for Rock to bring in a Dokkaebi rather than a Ash, so more utility for slightly less fragging power to a certain degree.
I get those smokes are going to come in handy in the late round, and I guess how Homeless are playing these late rounds is that they're anchoring the site, generally off site, if you know what I mean. Like they're playing vertically in the late round a lot. So I guess the Dokkaebi towards like the last minute in the round when you're in those 3-on-3, try and get those plants down. That's where I think we're really going to see that really thrive for Fury in terms of the setup. In the early round, I don't see it being too effective. Especially with the pace that we're seeing from Fury right now. It's going to be a more methodical approach here. If it was a rush, perhaps she might have had more initial impact, but at the moment, I just feel like she's not going to be doing too much until the late round.
Fair enough, but let's see whether that change will make as much of a difference, as Flex will be opening up just about the same hole into the offices to get to potentially try to get that early dislodgement. And I like the fact that Fury are once again able to open up that very same wall and being able to get that early opening to make sure that Homeless are not sitting all pretty on site. With the dislodgement of Stiggs and Hayward, things are looking up quite well, because it is only now up to Dino to hold the upstairs armory lockers, which are going to be quite a pain, considering that Dokkaebi calls are coming out as well to ensure that there's a full knowledge as to where all the defenders are.
And that's like what I just touched on as well as that mid-round. I mean, Dino's still managing to find that pick, though. Muesli drops. That's the IQ gone. That's a pretty hefty an important piece for Fury here is that we get towards the later stage of the half. There is Juicy. Oh, that's a massive spot, but no, that's a massive choke there on the frag. Flex there, takes him down, punishes it. At least Strider gets the refrag almost instantly, but still, that's a disadvantage. Another 2-on-3. This time, more HP at the very least for Homeless in the site.
That is true, and with Strider being able to take down Warden, things might not be looking all as swift for Fury now. Even considering the fact that Rock did bring frag grenades for the side push, but Strider already having a very strong position in the bathroom, and with Dano still being out there on a prowl, things are not looking all too swell. Strider attempting to fall back will be continuing to take more and more damage, but odd, honestly.
This is from Strider, though. They were aware of it right now, but with 18 seconds left, these two players, they need to clear him out, or he's going to just, tear this one apart. They've used all the utility to try and force him to clear, and the Dokkaebi trying to take that fight there. They line up for Strider, but he doesn't quite connect, and now Flex, low HP, can pick up his teammate, but that diffuser needs to go down, and a second left, and Dino, can he line that one up? Oh my god, that's a clutch play there! Up from above, and Homeless, what a round to win, and how they won it as well. You can barely see the foot in that corner. Insane.
Wow. I like that. I like those angles. I like seeing that. Even when everyone would have thought that border is one of those maps where you just can't think of any more angles, or you can't really bring any more of the changes as to how you hold. Fury showed us that how you can hold the upstairs, and with HL, they keep on showing us more and more of those cheeky angles from above and from below. So props to Dino for clutching this down and for finding that angle and reading it in. So with 5-4 scoreline right now,
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by
Homeless only 1 round away from getting themselves the match point, and only 2 rounds away from getting the win. And if they do get a win, it's 2-0. They advance further down, further up in through the lower bracket, and I believe might be versing Oddity.
We'll find out if they're playing.
Yeah.
In a bit. No confirmation just yet. That's alright. I'm just full focus, fixated on this matchup right now. 5-4. It's gonna go right down to the wire. Like we're gonna see the full regulation rounds at the very least. I mean, high potential for OT at the rate we're going as well. But
objective is to locate a bomb and defuse
I mean,
it.
that was
Oh yeah.
a much better display there from Homeless in the late round, and the fact that Strider was able to be such a nuisance that deep into the round, that was so crucial for Homeless to take that round, just as much as it was Dino being so patient playing from above.
Yeah, Dino's roam has been crucial on a very large variety of rounds, be it Clubhouse, be it here on Border. The man knows when, where, and how to dislodge a initial push, and whether it's a run out, whether it's just holding out a very unorthodox angle, certainly working out quite well. I like, though, what Fury is also doing. Having the early openings is playing into their hands, because yes, HL do like playing the aggressive angles, early openings, early frags, but so is seeming to be Fury, that is now has managed to adjust also to that playstyle, and being able to essentially have that contest as to who can open up earlier, essentially, to each one another. Could work out quite well, but Muesli is right now on the hunt, and he's hunting that Legion badly. He wants that kill.
Look at that. Muesli does eventually find that one. Just want to let you know as well, mate, that Max says hi.
Oh boy.
Bomb has been located.
Oh boy.
That's got you excited, hasn't it?
Oh yes, very. Very.
A bit of excitement from Fury as well. Look at this control they've taken in towards officers. With this man advantage, they're going to continue pressing forward. His Strider's found himself a cheeky angle at the very least, but they've managed to find Dino in the early stage of the round, and he's been so clutch on that roam in the late stage of each round so far that losing him does just make it a taller order, as well as being, you know, they're higher fraggers so far, as they do eventually take him out there. I think he just succumbed there to the down, and now that's going to mean Strider's forced to rotate back across to the site.
And already having Dino down as well. 3v4, things might be looking a little bit iffy for... Might be looking a little bit iffy for HL. Thatcher down though for Fury. Might be looking like things might also be going a little bit south, but with a nice pick, Brock will be able to dislodge even further the whole HL defense. But as it stands, it's a 2v2. The side
Whoa!
diffuser has not been planted, and it's all up to Flex to try to bring this back, just like that. It's Juicy and Strider being able to dislodge it, and the Homeless get themselves a match point.
That was the sickest 4-piece from Juicy.
Oh my
Dear
god.
Lord. I felt that. I lived that. I would die for that.
How was that even allowed? Juicy. Oh no, mate.
Oh my god. Oh dear.
Oh dear. Oh my goodness. And the funny thing is, okay, Guz before, since Guz, sorry, there's for everyone that is watching, there is a delay even for us casters between what Guz sees and what we see, and all that I see is just,
Attackers need to locate
holy heck,
and
what
defuse
just
the
happened?
bombs as
Like
they can.
just about 30 seconds before everything went down, and I was like, I wonder what he's referenced to. It was like just as
Like-
that thought crosses my mind. It's just, oh,
And
that's
it's like,
what
it's like, what do you mean? What just happened? Here we have a 4-on-2. Like, what am I looking at? What am I? Doesn't matter. Map point, series point, homeless in the box seat now. Finally finding that turn of events here on their defense. Starting to really roll away with it. Even after, you know, they lost their key point, their key roam there in
Locate the
Dino
bomb.
relatively early in the round.
Seconds left before
This time around, down below, custom storage site.
Attacker's objective is to defuse a bomb.
surely that's a tilter right now for Fury, being able to have the site. They had the diffuser going down, and they had the bat advantage, and it was all gone in the matter of less than 5 seconds. How? How is pretty much just being mad lads is how for homeless as Dino gets yet another spawn pick. Buckley again laying down, facing the dirt, and Fury are staring down again at 4v5 early in the round, and that's the trend for the whole match.
This is what I was worried about.
Spawn
Oh
peaks.
dear.
Well, not spawn peaks. Sorry.
Just the
Aggressive
snowballing,
peaks.
the snowballing, like aggression of the defense, really like suffocating Fury's playstyle because it's what the trap they fell into in those 2 rounds they lost on their in the early stage of the first half was when they started to play into how homeless were playing, and now Juicy another pick there. The diffusers dropped prime position now to lock that one down from above. A 5-on-3, like this is an incredibly tall ask there. We're gonna see homeless progress forward. They'll play potentially Oddity. I think we might be having a
We still
forfeit.
get to get that confirmation, yeah. But yeah, 2v5 right now, minute 30 to go. Yeah, you could say Fury might have the time to kind of rewire themselves, get themselves back into the game. But now with a 4v2, possibly could work, but I'd imagine Fury right now at a big tilting point, really.
Yeah, and there you go. That's the tipping point. Juicy, he's just run away with the entire map. The star of the show. Don't care what the scoreboard says. Like that 4-piece there, the round before, to then just clean that one up off the back there. GG's all around, of course, but that's gonna be homeless. 2-0, 7-3 on Clubhouse, 7-4 on Border, progressing forward to the the lower bracket final versus Oddity, to then the winner of that taking on Fnatic in the grand final. The double best of 3 bracket reset from the upper bracket advantage if we need it. But Jesus, Cthulhu, like summarize that one for me. What was the back end of that one?
I'm honestly, I'm lost for words. I'm shocked. I'm still shocked from what happened there in that match of in that second to last round. I'm even now I'm struggling to find words to what happened there, because one, that was a lineup and a half for what we saw for Juicy, being that 4K in a matter of less than like 5 seconds, like I mentioned. And Homeless are looking strong, like to the point where I'd even dare to say that they might give Fnatic a run for their money.
Ooh, big
Even
words. Big words.
Even with the current lineup changes that Fnatic did make. Yes, Mentalist is a mad lad. Yes, Tex is a mad lad. And the remaining 3-man core that Fnatic has, Homeless are going to give them a run for their money. And imagine that. A team that just qualified from Challenger League into Pro League, denying a world-class team an invitational spot. Well, sorry, not even an invitational, a chance to play at the APAC LAN. Not even the invitational spot. And imagine how much of an upset this would be within the ANZ, because we already saw pretty much the whole of season 10 for Pro League has been an upset and a half, even on the global level. Can you imagine what's going to be out there when the invitational qualifier is going to finish?
It's literally like the state of siege right now. It's literally shifting tides in all aspects.
In full aspects, yes.
In all aspects. So we do just have confirmation that Oddity have forfeit the lower bracket final. So this does mean we do have that Homeless versus Fnatic grand final. That is just so juicy. David versus Goliath type matchup. Don't you go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be back in after this short break with the grand final for the 6th Invitational ANZ Closed Qualifier. G'day guys, welcome back to the Rainbow Six Siege ANZ Closed Qualifier Day 2. We're about to get into our grand final for the event. Fnatic taking on Homeless. I'm Matty B, I'm joined by Cthulhu. Mate, what a game we have lined up for a grand final. Not like what you would traditionally expect, but it's going to be so exciting nonetheless.
It is going to be very exciting, and to be honest, if I was told I would see, like, say, even a season from now on back, to say that Homeless will be versing Fnatic in the grand final and contesting for that invitational APAC land spot, I wouldn't have believed that statement. But now Homeless have been shining through literally the whole of qualifier, the whole of close qualifier as well, and the matchup that we just witnessed against Fury. I don't think there was any moment of doubt that Homeless had that they won't be winning this matchup at all. Like, it was confidence for them through and through. And going into this matchup, I'd say this could be titled as the battle of who's more confident in their plays, really.
It's like it's your traditional David versus Goliath, really, in my head.
Yeah.
Like, or that, like, Homeless looks really good, but like you've got like, you know, this team, you know, legends of our region. You know, they've been the best team for so long. Obviously, their results as of late have not been what we've grown to expect of Fnatic. But you know, a new roster, fresh faces in the lineup. You know, Mentalists and Tex. Like, I think there's a lot of expectations of this Fnatic lineup, just with who they now have on the books. And then on the other side, you know, Homeless. If I'm them, I'm not feeling any pressure. I'm looking at this as I'm the underdog. This is a fantastic opportunity for me to prove myself and qualify for that APAC LAN in early January.
Yeah, with Fnatic though, they did a pretty extensive boot camp as well, following the Tokonami finals in Japan. So they had some good time already with the renewed lineup. So for Fnatic, yeah, there's still a few questions yet to be raised, and still a few questions left to be answered. Whether the roster change was really that much changing? Did it really change a whole lot? Is it a completely different lineup that we're seeing? Sorry, not a lineup. Is it a different Fnatic that we're seeing all in all? But I'm definitely curious, because with the way how Fnatic play, they have a whole lot of analyzing power behind them. They can be very frag heavy, but they can also be very strat heavy. Whereas on the side of Homeless, the main thing that has been going for them is, at times, I would say that behind all of that, if Homeless can keep up the aggression, if Homeless can keep being unpredictable, then that's where they might take the upper hand against Fnatic on a few occasions.
I think that's pretty much the picture that you're looking at. Is if Homeless are to do it, they need to keep playing to this game plan that they have been playing so far today. Very fast paced, very aggressive, very much getting those early picks and rolling off the back of that one. In the case of Fnatic, a question I want to ask you, and I really wanted to ask you this specifically because both of us have come from that Southeast Asia Pro League background. How do you feel about the acquisition of Mentalist? You could argue is one of the best players to come out of that region, now playing on this Fnatic lineup.
Look, I'm still yet to say all of my thoughts about how Mentalist could adjust into a Fnatic lineup. He is a very strong player, but there's a few times when a player on one roster will be an absolute mad lad, the absolute machine for one roster, and the moment he gets transferred to another one, completely different environment, maybe completely different attitude to some of the plays, his potential either gets absolutely just thrown out, and we can't really see any change, or on the 180 case, he could be the next best thing that could have happened to the roster. So until I see the end of this matchup against Homeless, only then I'll be able to really full on say whether the acquisition of Mentalist was good, because so far it is the second time when a ANZ team has acquired a player from Southeast Asia. Prior to that, it was Shin Bagel, back when Corvidae was still a thing. And for those who were following the competitive scene back then, let's just say it was not the best thing that could have happened. Unfortunately, back then it was a very quick disposal of Shin Bagel, who ended up still returning back to Southeast Asia, I believe, or back to America. I'm not too sure, but nonetheless, it was not that great. Here, Mentalist is a completely different thing. He's not the aggressive player. He's a very much of a flexible player. He's able to do a fair variety of roles. So stats wise, I'd say he's a good pickup. Play wise and any factual things, I'm still yet to be showcased all of that, really.
Fair enough. I accept that response. I reckon it is a bit early to really say like how he's going to fit into the lineup as well, and like a couple other things. Like I know that a lot of those guys who are on like the Airwolf lineup, spoke English. How fluent he may be, not too sure. How he fits into a full English calling lineup as well. That's a totally different thing. Playing with 4 Aussie guys as well, like that's a totally different thing. There's English and then there's Australian English, which you might be able to comment on just a little bit.
I mean, yeah, you could say that there could be a slight language barrier, but with most of the callouts, even in English, they're pretty simple, pretty self-explanatory, and even within the Fnatic lineup, I'm sure they will be able to adjust maybe 1 or 2 callouts to fit for Mentalist as well. Surely that could be done as well. Dizzle has a ginormous brain for all the strats and for all the callouts, so man can really pull it off. But yeah, honestly, if they done their stratting, if they done their plays, if they done their adjustment within that boot camp, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Mentalist. Tex already showed some promise while being on the Sinister roster. The man was able to do some pretty nutty plays, all in all. And his acquisition for Fnatic roster, pretty good, honestly. The man can do well, and within the probably even more coordinated lineup that is Fnatic comparative to Sinister to a certain degree, I would have to say that he will be probably thriving even more, honestly.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're looking for it. It's going to be pretty exciting, to say the least. Now, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to be back in just a short moment while we get the players ready to go, ready for our grand final at the Rainbow Six Siege ANZ closed qualifier for the Invitational. Don't go anywhere.
Look at those palm trees dance!
G'day, welcome back. The Rainbow Six Siege Invitational ANZ Closed Qualifier. It's our grand final. Homeless taking on Fnatic, map 1 in our best of 3 series. Matty B, joined by Cthulhu. Let's get right into it, brother.
Indeed, we will. Cafe Dostoevsky. What, a millionth time already so far throughout this whole invitational qualifier. And it is a Thatcher that has been banned. Out of all of the operator, it's the SAS that is getting bullied first on the Russian map. Curious though, what will be the last attack ban? It will be Buck. Okay, so all of the odd or all of the meta bans out into the window, straight from the top floor of Cafe. That's not even going to happen. Probably Mirror going to be banned, but that's about the only meta ban that will probably happen out here. No, it will be Kaid. Okay. Fnatic and Homeless just decided to throw out all of my ban predictions out into the window as well.
Well, I think that's a Homeless adaptation off what Fnatic did. Like, off that Thatcher ban, they need to get rid of some of that that hard breach prevention. Like, I guess the lesser of two evils in this case, perhaps. You know, the Kaid, I reckon he's got a lot more utility value compared to the Bandit on this map specifically. And then, of course, you did see that mirror meta ban for the final one. So, straight into it. This is a double elimination bracket. So this is a best of 3 in advantage for Fnatic. So if they lose this series, we'll double down. We'll run it again, straight back into a second best of 3. So potential for 6 maps if Homeless could do arguably the, not really, just the improbable.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that will play out. But I gotta say, Kaid ban straight after he got buffed during the Shifting Tides update. For everyone that has not watched the patch notes, his range got increased quite severely, and what has been decreased is the sheer amount of overall health on the side of Fnatic, as Magnet, Tex, and Virtue took some chunky amount of damage from those 2 impact grenades, and that is not what you want right now, especially as a player of Fnatic. But maybe they just don't even care, they'll just frag out like crazy. You never know.
That does sort of play really heavily in favor. Like, it's pretty easy to say that the early damage plays in favor of the attacking team, but how Homeless play, like in the pace they use, like I expect them to not really try and falter. Like, it's about when you look at your opposition, you don't actually look at your opposition. If they play too much like they're playing versus Fnatic, then they're not going to do anything this game. We'll see this like a quick 2-0 if anything. They have to play this like they're playing against Fury, like how they've done it before. Keep to their game plan, play to their pacing, play to their strengths, and in this round, with the damage already done, their strengths here are just going to absolutely flourish, as we do see very quickly a lot of presence over towards this western side, with just Dino really being the lone man to make his way through the south.
Yeah, honestly, at this point, Fnatic this is their last chance to really qualify for SI, and I don't think they will really want to lose all of that potential. So Lusty now being already found where he's positioned by Hayward, potentially might be getting into that firefight again, as another concussion grenade has been used up. But Lusty did manage to finally rotate back into the safety. So for now, the only thing that happened really is that piano room has now been completely forfeited.
And that's like what you mentioned before, that term meaningful map control. Like, that's a massive piece for Homeless in terms of getting ground. They've just hit the brakes here for the time being. You can see Hayward still looking to push that presence, as he does actually manage to spot out that cheeky little Valt cam, as they do take a bit of control. But Magnet, good line there, does find Dino and the opening pick, and already at the HP disadvantage, getting the numbers up, that's massively important to this hold for them right now. And I think he's just spotted that barrel as well, so Hayward,
boy.
Oh dear.
Oh
he's
boy.
He's gonna do it to him.
Oh boy, there it is. That's the lie angle. Bye, Hayward, and goodbye, Juicy, as well. Magnet is having none of that, even with the disadvantage in health. The man is crazy with that Alda 556, meaning only up to Styx and Arlo now to bring the heat back. And maybe I was just about too quick to judge on the Fnatic's prowess.
That's so rough. Like, and the fact that, like, if Homeless go back and watch this, they're going to see what happened at the start of the round, and this is just going to be all the more frustrating. With a 2-on-5, you do still see Stiggs and Arlo. You're just pointing out as well that Arlo's back in the lineup now, no longer being subbed in for, so the man is free to go. As this damage from Magnet here, just really chipping away at Arlo, as they just have not quite found their way in towards the site just yet, and this black eye, it is just so annoying right now as the run through here. Oh dear, Stiggs. A lineup, a double kill, a triple in fact. What is that from Stiggs? Incredible spray control to transfer that into the fourth. Is this going to be an ace? Is that going to be an ace clutch from Stiggs? It's a 1-on-1. It's all up to Mentalist. In the back, the pre-fire into the storage. How does that happen? What is going on? It was a 2-on-5, a 4K spray, and Mentalist, it just puts his barrel in the man's mouth. You can't do that. I'm done. I'll see you later.
Matty is actually gone, ladies and gentlemen. Elvis has left the building. Oh my sweet Jesus, what? How was that even allowed? Stiggs, mate, please, my heart can only take as much, even though I'm only 23, but at this one, I'll be 66 after the match has ended with this much strain. Jesus Christ.
Just the entire context of the round, the damage done early by Magnet, the massive advantage that they then found off the back of the 3-piece early, and then, yeah, the 4-piece, like that was a hot 4-piece as well, like
yeah, that was just as hot as Juicy's 4K on Border. Just before, but this is just pretty much, for those who are just tuning in, you just witnessed what essentially going to be the pace for the rest of the series for Fnatic versus Homeless, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't think there could have been any better setup, honestly, for this matchup as it was right now.
Well, I said it before, it's like Homeless have sort of made this great run through the bracket, and you give them full credit for that, but like, it's still that David versus Goliath matchup. You've got this legendary lineup for our region. Obviously, a couple of roster changes, but the core is still very much the same. Versus, you know, these underdogs. They've just made it out of Challenger. They've made this run through the lower bracket of this qualifier. And that first round, like that is the tone I want. Like, it's just
just right. Oh. For now, the breaches will continue to happen, as Juicy will be now fully knowledgeable about that. Fnatic will have a nice set of angles to go with. Nicely done to evade that mute jammer as well. So he will continue to gather the information, and that should allow just enough for Hayward to get the kill. And there it is, the Virtue, the man, the machine of Fnatic will be going down, leaving up to the remainder of the 4 players of Fnatic to battle against Homeless. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we'll be seeing something across the lines of, say, 4-2 even scoreline still in favor of Fnatic, and then to see a full-on flawless set of defense from Homeless on Cafe, as that did happen already, and it was against Fnatic. So it could very much happen here, and even already with a, well, I was just about to say 2-man disadvantage, make it 1 for now. Things are still looking all pretty well for Homeless.
Yeah, and if you just like put a little bit into context, well, like this is Homeless's map pick. So I mean, yeah, very much ready for this one, and they hard picked into this one straight away. First pick of the series. Caf, much to the disappointment there of my cohort today. But I mean, like, if we're getting sick plays like this, like, then
yeah, sure, yeah, I'm down for that. I'm definitely down for that. But as it stands, Mentalist being a little bit wary about where could the push and the peak could come from Homeless, and we're getting a Guz notification again. Once again, Arlo picking up a double kill for himself. Guz, please stop teasing me like this. Oh boy. Get another one. 25 seconds left to go. There's another push. Hayward getting another play, and this time it is Mentalist to try to clutch this out. There's a peak one for Hayward. There's another one for Juicy.
15 seconds
Make
to
it
go.
a double kill for Mentalist as it's now a 12-second
10
round
seconds left.
remaining. Arlo and Stiggs to play this down. Make it just Arlo as Mentalist gets a
5
triple
seconds
kill.
left.
Can he get a quad kill as well with that peak? There it is. There's the quad kill, ladies and gentlemen. Fnatic are back into the play, responding with yet another clip.
Another clutch from Mentalist. Back to back. We said it before. He's that role player for the team. He's always been that type of player. Like he's showing how calm he can be in these scenarios. The 1v1, he held it down after, almost having like an ace clutch against you. Like there's a lot of pressure on you in that moment. And then this one, a 1v4, but that was a walk in the park for him. Just so controlled the whole time. He made the right decision at every step. And like that is terrifying if you're homeless when you're getting like all this advantage throughout the round. You've done a perfect job of picking apart this defense. And then just this one man, he just makes the right decision every single time.
Yeah. And for people that do know Mentalist and do follow him even on Twitter, he has a clip of being able to play Siege calm as heck
Defenders, protect
using
your
a
bombs from being
stylus
defused by attackers.
on a drawing tablet instead of a mouse. And the man can
Bomb
still
located
perform.
by attackers.
If you go right now to his Twitter, Mentalist C, I believe, you can see that clip. Right, it's right pinned there. So right now, Mentalist is just flexing currently on Homeless. They throw Homeless thrown at Fnatic some of the really quality executions there, on like you stated, on their own map pick as well, and 2 times in a row, Mentalist saves
10
Fnatic.
seconds left before insertion.
I mean, it's not like Homeless are doing stuff wrong. Like they're making the right decisions. They're getting the map control. They're getting into these sites. Like it's just
Attackers
great
detected.
individual play
Bomb.
from a couple of key movers in the Fnatic lineup.
Yeah. So far, based on those 2 rounds, so far the acquisition of Mentalist did seem to be paying off quite well. Because any other way, back when Specca would be playing, back when Riz, actually probably Riz would have been able to prevent that, but as it stands, Mentalist did it in a much cleaner way comparative to what at least I remember from the latest Fnatic performances.
Yes, tidy stuff. And what that's actually done at the same time is it's actually this pace from that we've seen so far from Homeless. It just feels like it's starting to be drawn back a little bit. Obviously, like you can still see this plenty intent of how they're moving, specifically on the western side of the building, but it's not the same sort of speed we saw in the first 2 rounds where they were really, booking it for the early map control. And Magnet gets a key piece of information, spotting those players out over towards that that red stair hatch. And now the rotations coming back in towards the site.
Yeah, well, the rotation's coming out. This time Fnatic did manage to gather the information, came out unscathed, I have to point out, and still were able to deny, well, just almost about a minute and a half from Homeless, which is already a good accomplishment, nonetheless. What is good about the way how Fnatic play is that they can go for those very passive time denials, and that's when you put the pressure, that passive pressure on the opposing team and force them to play into time, where Fnatic will be the ones to be exceeding in the firefights. Ooh, hello.
Ooh.
It's a nice peek onto that Echo drone to make sure to deny as much information as possible. And that's both of the Yokai drones actually down. So right now, Echo is just a ACOG wielder out there.
Still a useful piece on the board. It's in the hands of Mentalist still, and we've already seen his ability to lock down these rounds in the later stage. As we do just see it, Homeless starting to get a bit of control over towards the cafeteria. Looking to just bust their way through this kitchen. You can see that Fnatic, they've made their way all the way back towards the deep side. They're all the way over towards B, and Mentalist and Lusty, great crossfire there. Catches that attempted pincer play, and a missed opportunity there from Arlo to lock it down, and now it's Juicy 1 versus 5. We've seen him pull up some massive plays before, but that's a massive whiff and a flawless round for Fnatic as they find their 3rd, and there was hope for Homeless. This round, though, it was a total shutout.
Yeah, it almost feels like it was a gradual kind of decrease in the performance throughout those 3 past rounds. You see Homeless at the beginning, first round, go in just the same as what we saw with Fury. Just absolute, balls to the wall and going in for all those frags. Second one, a bit more calculated, slightly paced. They only had it, but mentally cancelled all of those plans. And now third round, yeah, yeah, pretty much. And now the third round is Homeless tried to go for a little bit more calculated. You see them pace down, the time to clear top down and everything, and still nothing. And it was a flawless round. So at this point, the morale of Homeless might be going down, but I wouldn't call it just yet, as all of those players are very much able to keep their cool. But at the same time, they're also all very quite passionate about the game.
Yeah, I think they have to really consider is expectations on themselves. You know, looking at this, they're not expected to win this, right? The fact that they've been so competitive at the start so far is a massive credit to how they're playing. Because, like, I've said it before, like, this core of the Fnatic lineup is still the same. And these two new additions, I feel like I feel like they're just going to get better from what they have been. And, you know, the first two rounds, they were get out of jail for Fnatic. Like, Mentalist just pulled it out for them. So you can't be disappointed. You can't let this scoreline get to you. A 3-0 start, not bad. You're on, you know, the less advantageous side of the map at the same time. So, honestly, keep your spirits high. Keep working through it. As again, this time, very quick on the west side together as a 5.
Yeah, what definitely HL do have for them is the fact that they have a very coordinated push. They know what they want, and the only thing is that they occasionally telegraph too much as to where they about to go. So right now they already exposed and showed off where they might be going in for the push, where the initial pressure point is going to be. But with them starting to drop down the hatch and Mentalist already prepared to play from a very up close and personal position, things might be looking a little bit grim there.
This mute play from him has just been an absolute rock so far, and he's still playing over through Cigar. As Lusty does find Hayward, and that's again another advantage for Fnatic. A 3-on-5. We have seen Homeless find a way to draw back these rounds, but no, Text still doing the damage. Mentalist even getting the trade back. In fact, not actually connecting with Stiggs at all, as he does spot 2 players, just trying to get that double peek going. The Track Stingers just thrown in front. They're not going to be able to push him at this point, but still puts himself in a rough spot there as damage is getting done. I think he gets the down there on towards Tex, but it's still not quite there to break them back into this round as Dino pushes forward. That might do the job, but Lusty rotating back across, finds the man. It's all up to Stiggs in a 1 versus 3. HP and time. He can still do it, but no. The Maestro just being an absolute nuisance in the tail, and that's going to be Fnatic finding their 4th. And Homeless, there's a little bit of spirit there, but it's just not quite enough. Fnatic are just poking through the holes in their attack.
And you can see, even with the way how Stiggs was trying to land the shots, he was missing so many of them. And like, comparative to what we saw Stig playing against Fury, he was full-on confident in all of his plays. This time, this is not the same Stiggs. Fortunately, it almost feels like the man is starting to doubt half of his plays, and that's where Fnatic playstyle comes in very well. They managed to break the initial spirit, and now it's just them being kind of, you know, where technically they're all going to be, where in the general direction, but each and every one of them has been so far a nuisance from such a variety. I don't think Homeless were really prepared for all of these, to contest all of these angles, really, because you don't really see a person playing in the cigar shop and mainly from that small room with the hack. You don't really see that on a daily basis, and neither we saw Fnatic play it that much. And the way how they also had the castle barricade in there. So say if somebody even would have pushed into the piano room and taken partial control, Mentalist would have still been in a very good position there to be able to contest the cigar shop. So all in all, Fnatic so far doing some phenomenal job, honestly, and it definitely seems like they've done their homework.
And just touching on that cigar shop hold there we just saw from Mentalist was the fact that he had Tex and Lusty as fast rotates either side of him, so he was never isolated, he was never alone, so he was able to confidently still take those fights the entire round. He didn't have to fall away, as we do see Virtue finding an opening. Hayward with a quick refrag there, you know, that run out punished. And that does keep it level, but in the early stage of the round, you don't want to lose those early picks like that, especially on this offensive side. That's the sledge out of the picture. That does just make some of your vertical play a lot more limited, especially when, you know, they've dropped down into these lower sides.
Yeah, the early picks are in for the morale decrease rather than the utility drop, because yeah, Sledge losing him is going to be a hit, but Homeless are a team that can still perform well even after losing one or two players. So it's here rather for Virtue to try to go in for the tilting factor potentially.
I think there was a Yoka spotted out there by the IQ, so Peace gone as Hayward. He spots two there. He'll push forward there. He's ready for this rotation to come through, and the pre-fire comes out. That's a 3-piece for the round for him, as they have a 4-on-2 at this point. And now, Magnet and Lusty left to clutch this one out. We do just see Lusty trying to make his way back through the site, and a good angle for Magnet if he can hit this shot. They just need to get this planted as soon as possible. That drone, I think it might just spot him out.
C4 deployed.
Oh, that's clutch. Surely. No, good reads there. And this is now a little bit of patience from Homeless. They can't commit to the plant just yet. They don't really have much information on where these two players are for Fnatic. It's like Lusty and Magnet. They're trying to bait this run out here. It's playing that mental stall game right now.
Certainly do, as Juicy can hear so much rotation right now to come out, and Magnet already managing to take out Arlo. That is the control of the downstairs hold as well, now completely forfeited. And now Lusty needs to start connecting those shots, but it is Magnet that is just on rotation. Man is just an absolute mad lad and will be attempting to go for the play, but the crossfire is there, and the Thermite can't do anything really. Juicy will be going down. And what is it, already 5 rounds in a row?
It's 5-0.
Yeah, it is a 5-0, and it is Homeless's map pick. That's the scariest thing, Matty.
And like,
because
yeah, you go. No, you go. It's all right. You finish your point.
Okay, because the way how we saw last time's Cafe was played, it was not in favor of Fnatic, and it was definitely not a 5-0 against their previous opponents. On a few noteworthy plays, yeah, they were doing pretty well, but it would have been something across the lines of 7-5, 7-4, and occasionally they would even lose the Cafe, cough cough, the Fury game on the first half, but that was a long while ago. And now seeing as after this, to a certain point, in a positive way, controversial roster change, seeing how much they've improved and how they managed to read in on Homeless, that's some scary stuff.
I think like we also have to think too, like we could be seeing a very different game right now if those first 2 rounds went differently, all because of Mentalists. Like it's very easy to just sort of talk about how we've seen Homeless do a few things right, but they're being punished for these gaps at the moment. As we saw in that last round, they had a 4-on-2, very quickly snapped to a 3-on-2, and they weren't able to adapt to the fast rotations that Fnatic were able to pull off as they dragged. They isolated individuals while they were trying to hold that bomb site to get the diffuser down, and that's how they got themselves back into the round. And that's the little things that Homeless need to learn as they progress forward now, you know, being a brand new Pro League team and playing this grand final. Fnatic are just punishing them for these little, you know, micro mistakes they're making.
Yeah, that's a very good point as well. Yeah, it's rather getting to the point where Homeless are playing their game. They are setting the initial pace for themselves, but it is the micro, yeah, all the small mistakes that they make where them and taking those rounds. Yeah, that's a very good point that you make. But it's also the same fact that it's both Tex and Mentalists were able to perform so well whenever the original core, a 3-man core lineup fell. That's where the 2 new pickups were getting it. And Virtue back at it again, still holding some pretty steadfast and some very good angles. And at this point, losing Jackal in a solo roam hunt right now, you cannot afford to do that for yourself.
It's very rough right now, as Magnet even finds a pick there onto Hayward, just triggering these cheeky little door traps. There's 4-on-3 now for Fnatic, and it's really starting to slip for Homeless. Like, you can really see the level of intent they had in the first 3 rounds, like the pacing they were taking, how they were taking control of the map. There was a lot of intent in how they were playing it, and now it's been stripped away. It's like you were saying before, like it was a bit of a morale thing, and like I hate touching on morale too much because I think it drags away from how the teams prepare for a matchup and the way that they're playing. But it does just feel like now that it's a little bit emo in the Homeless camp right now.
Attackers dropped the diffuser.
Yeah, it could very much be the case here. As much as both of us hate to talk about that, but hey, in each and every battle and each and every warfare, playing on the morale is certainly a thing. You can do it, and it's a valid tactics. So, can't really take away from that, but nonetheless, Homeless still have the potential, and they still have the chance to do it, but the chances all are shrinking pretty rapidly, as Lusty does manage to find a kill into Dino, and now no more control from up above, so it's a one-dimensional push now.
And that's another thing as well. Like, Dino has had next to no impact so far. He hasn't really had an opportunity to play off the way he has. Him and Stigs were nuts so far today. As Fnatic, again, they pick up their 6, a flawless defense half for them. And, you know, it's just time after time, Homeless are just unable to capitalize on this tiny fraction of window that they've created for themselves. Very quickly just collapses on them as Fnatic. Their rotations have been fantastic on their defense so far. Swapping sides, though, it is obviously a heavily defender-sided map here on CAF. Now, what do we need to see from Homeless here? Is there a Hail Mary play we see? Or do we walk away map 1, their own pick, with a 7-0 to start us off, Cthulhu?
Honestly, I can see a 7-0 finish for Fnatic. This could very much happen. But
Need to locate and defuse as many
all in
bombs as
all,
they can.
Homeless are definitely looking like they're on a back foot here, and it's a bit of a feels bad moment, honestly. Homeless had such a fantastic run so far through open qualifiers, through close qualifiers, and to see them fall like that, if that's the case, on the grand final, that is
Attackers have
unfortunate,
located a bomb.
to say at the very least.
It's disappointing for the Homeless guys if that's the case, but like a prime opportunity for them to learn. Like, they've shown us that they can compete with a lot of pro league teams throughout this qualifier at the very least.
Before insertion.
So, you know, a lot to look forward to for their future. We're still at very early stages at the same time. Like, I want to give them that shake still. We're on this defensive side now. This is their opportunity to show us how they prepared. This is their map pick. They went hard into CAF in the vetoes as well. So I'm expecting something here.
Yeah, well, maybe there's something that Homeless have prepared on defense. We'll find that out very soon, as already the attack is coming over. Even the lineup-wise of operators, it is more or less similar to what we saw from Fnatic as well. So, could this be rather more of just a reiteration of how defense will go, or maybe Fnatic will just outright finish it all off? They're not planning to take any hostages. They're not planning to stall it out for any longer. They just want that W. They want to go to Montreal once again. Maybe that's the case here. So for now, though, it seems like a pretty stable, pretty nice wide setup for defense on the side of Homeless.
Interesting point of contention there is the fact that Juicy was spotted extremely early there on the Legion. If imagine he drops there, that's just, it's devastating at that point for Homeless, because that's such a useful piece for them to have on the board in the late round with the amount of Groom lines they can have triggered. And if he falls now, and he's still playing aggressively, like this is not a good thing for Homeless right now. They need him alive. At this point, he's got information on where these attackers are coming from on this western side. Fall away, mate. Just, you don't have to do that. I mean, he does get that early pick, but now there's still 2 players here very ready to trade. It's just a bit too much risk versus reward in my head.
Yeah, the the good idea right now for Juicy is to start falling back, and that flashbang is
Attackers
Yeah,
a sign that he stayed there. He overstayed his position, and Mentalist and Lusty, mainly Lusty, will be able to pretty much prove that point. So right now, Homeless are facing a few issues, mainly the fact that they are overstaying their positions. That's exactly where Fnatic do manage to punish them.
You can just see a bit of patience here from Homeless. Arlo not repositioning is continuing with drone. Fnatic, they've got a lot of information at this point. They found a lot of these angles out. 30 seconds left. They have the means to collapse on a side as Hayward does find that pick onto Virtue, and he's actually gone for the run out here. Going to try and double back in through towards the cafeteria. And that does just trigger a little bit for Fnatic, is those goo mines. They do their job at the very least as Mentalist gets tagged down low, and Texas try to double back, get a bit of exchange damage off as he does spot a rotator coming in from the defense, but there's only 10 seconds left. They need to get into one of these sites and try and find that plant. They catch Stiggs on the rotate with 6 seconds left. Where's the bomb site? Where's the plant coming through as we do see Dino lock down a double? And Homeless, they're not going to be embarrassed here. They find a round and lock down their defense with just really good patience. Something that I haven't seen from them yet today. It's been pure aggression so far, and they managed to wrap that one up.
Yeah, very good performance on defense. Finally did manage to bring this back, even a slight bit, but nonetheless, like you said, did save themselves from embarrassment. And Bar and Cocktail Lounge to come out this time as a secondary site for HL. Could work out, but I am curious on that. Well, I was just about to say on that choice of Pulse for Stiggs, but as he is 6 picking, I would be expecting something a little bit more roam heavy. There you go. There's Mozzie. And now this seems like a lineup of operators that the confident side of HL might pull off. But they are currently staring down at a fact that they don't have any room for mistake, really. Not anymore. Not on this map.
The
If
5
they
round
lose
deficit.
one more round, that's... Yeah. A 5-round deficit.
5-round deficit to claw back from. And I mean, if you consider this sort of lineup you said before, like this one, it looks more like a traditional Homeless setup. This sort of plays more in what we saw there over on Clubhouse earlier today, when they can, you know, get a bit more roam heavy here, go looking for these earlier fights. They've got so many information-based operators. They've got the Maestro, they've got the Valkyrie, they've got the Mozzie, they've got the Mute, they've got a lot of prevention at the same time. So this is going to be one of those rounds where you can see them doing a lot of work, in theory.
Yeah, the main point is in theory. Because theoretically, Homeless should have won the initial first in theory, but Mentalist was the main wild card there. So, for now, yeah, Homeless do seem to have a good... Now they need to just execute it and make sure that Fnatic are drained of the time and of any potential of regrouping or retrying to go for any specific pushes. So with that in mind, they are going to be going in for a fair few. Actually, a fair few repels in through the windows to see where can they capitalize and see where they can poke things around. And I like this setup, as Virtue and Tex did actually repel up on the same window, but Tex is watching the run out while Virtue is doing all the dirty job.
I like this patience here from Fnatic. They've taken positions over towards the roof. They're ready for this third floor to hit right now. It's just early stages at the moment, taking a bit of control, looking towards, in towards Piano, looking for a bit of control, making sure there's no one holding any of those aggressive lines over towards the Scar Lounge. And you mentioned it before, it's not something you've seen played too frequently. We did see Fnatic try and pull it off, as we do see Tex finding that pick there onto Hayward as he's rotating, you know, beneath those rooftops. Those hatches can be quite a problem in the mid-round, and that's exactly what's happening here, is an early advantage for Fnatic.
Early advantage indeed, and that is the Jaeger off the board as well. Not what you want right now, considering that the 416 carbine is something that is still a very powerful weapon. But for now, the remainder of the operators can still hold pretty well, considering that Fnatic still hasn't opened up the angles into the freezer, which would allow Arlo and Dino, for that matter, to actually hold a pretty solid angle there.
Look, they're almost touching each other through those walls. Oh, great line there for Juicy to pick up Virtue. Levels it back up, but there's a quick refrag there for Texan. He capitalizes on that opportunity, and now just off the back of that one, Stiggs, he's trying to rotate very quickly up from behind. The 2 versus 4 now. Stiggs and Arlo, what can they pull off on this one?
Yeah, not a whole lot, really. 15 seconds to go, though, so the time is still in favor of HL, so if they are able to delay the plan, things might work out pretty well. There's the C4. No, Stiggs! That's not the play! Not the TK on Arlo. He tries to get the scavenge the round, but that is it, ladies and gentlemen. 7-1 scoreline for Fnatic on Cafe Dostoyevsky. Things are not looking all well right now for Homeless, whereas for Fnatic, all according to plan, just yet another day at the office.
That hurt. That really, that finish hurts. After the start, they were in the contest. They were looking great, but then after those first 3 rounds, it just started to snowball out for Homeless there. I mean, just look at that scoreboard there. 11 frags for Magnet, 9 for Mentalist. Both putting in those big numbers. Hayward did a decent job of staying in the contest for the most part for Homeless, but those guys that have been so impactful throughout the day today, you know, Stiggs and Dino, relatively quiet for them, and it meant that we do just see Homeless lacking what that sort of that presence we saw in the earlier matches.
Yeah, it was definitely a very, very steep withdrawal of how different the Homeless playstyle changed and how quickly it did, from being very aggressive, very confident on their pushes, to how much they tried to predict and how much they tried to accommodate for plan B all the way to Z, honestly, at this point. And none of those plans really ended up, unfortunately, working, apart from maybe like just one push that was on the offense on the first half. Sorry, on the first round of the second half. And that is a feels bad moment, honestly. For Homeless, all the cards were looking like we might be seeing a 3-map play and them potentially taking the Cafe for themselves, but the renewed roster of Fnatic seemed to be stronger on just a whole new level, really, for Homeless to even attempt to take.
Yeah, it's still an uphill battle for Homeless after losing that first match. Their own pick. We're going to be cutting in towards Consulate in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to go to a quick break. We'll be back with the second and potentially our final map of this qualifier, so don't you go anywhere. It's going to be a nail-biter. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. Map 2 Grand Final of the Rainbow Six Siege Invitational ANZ Closed Qualifier. Homeless versus Fnatic. A commanding victory on Map 1 over on CAF. 7-1. I'm, of course, Matty B. I'm still joined by Cthulhu. What are we looking for here, mate? How is Homeless going to dig one out here?
Honestly, this is going to be a challenge and a half for Homeless, because the moment I realized, and the moment we saw Consulate being the map number 2, the first thought that came into my head is that if Homeless don't do anything on Cafe, that is it, really. Because Consulate is one of those maps that it's a staple map for Fnatic. If you see any team, well, minus maybe Wildcard at this point, that would try to take Fnatic on Consulate, that would be very much ill-advised, let's just say that. And for Homeless to allow Consulate to slip through is a little bit of a missed opportunity here. But looking overall at the bans here, Thatcher, Capitao, Echo, and Valkyrie will be meaning that Maestro and Mira are in the play, and that is going to be a bit of an issue here. Mainly for Homeless.
Well, I mean, like, Mira is something we haven't really seen, like, in a very long while. We haven't seen any today between ourselves, you know, a constant ban, and this time around, you know, letting it through. We're just going to see how Fnatic sort of play into that, starting on this defense side. The Mira picked up for Mentalist. They're going to be playing down in the cafeteria garage site, so taking it down below. Not rocking the Kaid or the Bandit. Something interesting to note there.
Yeah, with Kaid now this time making it through the ban phase and all alive and well, this time won't be seeing, like you mentioned, no, any action just yet, but the Mirror choice on Garage is a very powerful pick, and she'll be the one to shape up the defense quite substantially, albeit that usually when she's paired with Bandit, say, it makes things way easier, considering you can put a mirror window on the garage wall, you can put a mirror window in CCTV room, you could even utilize mirror for roaming purposes and have her placing a mirror window in from bathroom looking into the piano room on the ground floor. There's a gigantic how you can play things out, and this time it's going to be a mirror window looking into CCTV, but looking also through potentially into the garage as well. So this will be a very much of a fortified position in on that hallway just outside the spiral staircase. So see how will this impact the play, because this is definitely something that you bases out here in the ANZ competitive.
Yes, you can see, like, already Homeless trying to take that vertical advantage at the very least in the early stage of the round. They want to make sure they have this upper portion of the map in terms of control. We can see there's a couple of players roaming about. It is Lusty taking a bit of control over towards meeting. Already finding himself a drone at the same time, so pieces of information for him. He does try and go for the C4. Dino just a bit too quick there on the trigger. And they just drone him out. They do get that information there as the track even coming through there on the back for Dino. They know he's rotated away, and Texas going with him for the time being, but there's still a bit of control being held in the main lobby. So that spiral staircase, as you said before, that's something they need to keep control of in order to see that main point of control being held for.
Yeah, well, for now it seems that the whole of Fnatic roster did go for a flat-out default back to the site, which should allow Homeless to go for a direct assault from above and from the exit stairs to then open up the garage wall, which should, in theory, assist them in opening up onto the side and being able to go in for the plant. So theoretically, they have the upper hand here, but not a single frag has been dished out here just yet. The grenades to come out to make sure that there's no more utility up and around the white van should ensure that the positioning is the right positioning is in play. And what is concerning to me is the fact that FNC are all bunched up.
Yeah, and they all got spotted out by that drone too. 3 of them seen in a row there as we do see Mentalist. He kept that last mirror window just up for a little bit longer, bit of late round utility as Lusty. He finds Dino there and Magnet just chiming in there as he finds Juicy. Tex also picking up Arlo as it's just going to be a lockdown here for Fnatic. They find 4 of the frags. It's just Stiggs now in a 1 versus 5. I say just Stiggs lightly though. He is a phenomenal player, but I might have to take that one back there as Mentalist cleans up with the C4 and just has to do him dirty like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Stiggs did get done dirty quite badly out here with that C4, albeit Fnatic's a bit of a controversial, at least in my mind. Defense did work out quite well, all things considered.
Yeah, all things considered. I mean, like, it was that point you made as well, that the fact that they were so bunched up, but that initial offense that was coming in through the garage, like, it was completely shut down. There was no real presence for them outside of that then, because their upper floor control was pretty lackluster. They didn't really get too much information on Lusty and Tex on those roams, and they were able to just pick apart those last 2 players on the split, and it just made it, you know, again, that mountain to climb there for Homeless. And I feel like after watching that round, it's going to be more of the same of what we saw in the previous map. It just looks like Fnatic are just totally on top.
Yeah, it's certainly a bit of a odd position that currently Homeless are looking at, because they seem to have a good execution right up until they are about to start opening up onto the site. And that's where they kind of end up either stalling out or just Fnatic flat out preventing them from doing this. And it's hurting HL quite badly, honestly. It stops them from doing and playing their own game, which they were so good at playing back when they versed Fury. But comparing Fury to Fnatic is honestly, I shouldn't really be doing. Both of those teams are on completely, at this point, 2 different levels. And it seems that the Fnatic domination could very much return here. What we saw was back at the beginning of the previous season, with a few drawbacks here and there. The fact that Fnatic didn't really qualify for Tokonami finals, that's nothing anymore. They seem to be right where they want themselves to be, and not really planning to take any L's in any near future, really.
I think that was kind of needed for Fnatic. I think they needed to not make Pro League there. You almost sense like a bit of complacency in the playstyle in their previous events, and now this looks like a little bit of a rejuvenation, a breath of fresh air. Sometimes you do just need that. You can work on your issues for as long as you want, or if there are issues, or sometimes things just get stale. There's nothing new with the 5 you're playing with, and you just need to make that change. Virtue's change is deciding to take Stiggs out of the picture here. He gets an early advantage there as Juicy does spot him out on the drone. And still playing along this line over towards the spiral stairs. Arlo playing off the support there of the drone. Levels it back up into a 4-on-4 as we do see Magnet. I think he only just spotted Hayward.
Yeah, getting those pings, just getting the general idea as to where the play might be coming out from is just enough for Tex to get that double kill. Fantastic play. And the Mad Lad manages to push up to the top floor. So as it stands, now Homeless are about to get pincered, and just like that, again, Dino is back into a 1v4 situation. This time, to no success at all. He will be shut down, and Fnatic are back into the fray. That wake-up call that the loss and inability to qualify for Tokonami finals worked wonders, and the Mentalist and Tex introduction to the roster seems to have rejuvenated them quite well. So for now, a bit of a series of unfortunate events for Homeless, whereas on the side of FNC, they really seem to be just emphasizing mistakes that Homeless are making either in their pushes or in their communication, and just managing to undermine each and every step that the current, newly crowned Pro League team has made so far.
It's also a good wake up call for Homeless in that aspect as well. They had a really great run through Challenger League to finally qualify for Pro League. A great run here in the qualifier, and by no means, if they're realistic, they weren't expecting the qualifier for the LAN. That would have been like a fantastic bonus. But when you look at the teams that played in the qualifier, you know, the experience they had, the caliber that they've played with and against for so long, you would expect, let's make a deep run through the lower bracket and just see how well we go. Making this grand final, you know, I would say it's a surprise if you're homeless, and you're just taking this as a learning opportunity to play against one of the region's best. It should really be the main objective here. Is, I mean, obviously winning would be fantastic. Getting LAN opportunities is exactly what you want for any team in any esport, but thinking about it realistically, this is probably just, you know, pretty decent for them at the moment.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to agree with you on this one, Matty, as just general experience, and if they're already managing to showcase that they are able to take down what is considered to be one of like a few top 5, say, teams that were in the Pro League for such a long while, that is definitely already a very good sign. And say, if Homeless get picked up by an org, get good enough amount of support from them, boy, oh boy, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I'd be definitely excited to see how they would perform throughout the whole next of Season 11 of Pro League. And any coming up regional tournaments such as Six Masters. So certainly a very bright future, no matter what's the outcome for today's matchup is.
Again, we're not seeing that same trademark. I said it before, like, Fnatic are really like not allowing that trademark aggression we see from Homeless in the pacing they take. It would have been really nice to see this go to Clubhouse and just see, you know, that level of play from Homeless versus a team like Fnatic. I would love to just see that head to head again, just to let it go. At the moment though, Fnatic, they've got it really locked down, and it's just really difficult to see Homeless breaking through this defense.
Yeah, well, for Fnatic right now, they are about to start getting pressured, but Magnet's fine positioning, timing, and will be able to rotate back into the bathroom. So, all in all, a good start, but Juicy does manage to find himself a trade-off as well as Tech, so Fnatic keeping the man advantage into their favor.
Oh, that's so dirty from Tex. I'd be screaming if I'm Juicy. That's the definition of a rough gig. 4-on-2, and like, this is one of those scenarios where it's just nothing is working. Fnatic have got this one on lock, a 3-0 lead, and like, try as they may, like, they're really, like, they haven't given up, but Fnatic have been just so dynamic on their defense, their ability to, how they're roaming around the map, how they're bouncing off operators easily, in positions to trade off the back of each other. Like, it's just fantastic dynamic team play, and Homeless are just not up to that standard at the moment.
It certainly seems like it. It's a little bit surprising to how much of an extent Fnatic were able to read into how Homeless play. And seeing as Homeless are starting to maybe get a little bit desperate on some of their plays, maybe trying to catch some players off guard, we will be, though, seeing a double Ember Rise operators actually appear this time. The first time Amaro will be played within the ANZ, at least to my knowledge. But yeah, Fnatic seem to have countered so many plays and so well, and flex their ability to play so many operators, that at this point, I don't think HL have as many of ways to actually go around it, really.
Just look at this defense setup we have from Fnatic. Again, the Goyo coming out. This time it'll be on Tex, and you saw down below, back in the garage, he's got pretty much a wall with of his Vulcan shields just set up towards the front there by the trucks. And this is another sort of scenario where I just see a lot of struggle coming out for Homeless. When we look at how Fnatic are beginning to like position themselves in towards the mid round, like, I just yeah.
It's definitely it's a tough one, Matty, and it's tough see how things are. Forward though, did not. I don't think he did expect Lusty to be so clueless about the position, as the Amaro push into the admin worked out pretty well. The double kill onto Tex as well will be meaning that it is a 3v5, but we saw from time and time Fnatic being able to come back from a two-player deficit.
Oh boy.
A bomb has been
Mentalist is
located.
feeling it right now. He's looking for fights. He doesn't care. He's a brutal killer. As oh, Hayward, nice pick up there, but Virtue very quick there on the trade. That's a spicy little meatball there. As Virtue again getting that tag over towards Piano. There is a teammate here, just outside, but Juicy not going to be quick enough, having to rotate in towards the garage. It's actually a 2-on-2 at this point. Surprisingly, we've actually managed to see Homeless bring that one back as Dino lines 2 up. Where did that come from?
That doesn't line up. He just walked in onto the side, and when he tried to take care of the camera, he just said, "Nah, I'm just holding the left click," and that's where Homeless managed to perform very well done. They managed to potentially, just only potentially, read into how to play against FNC at this point, and being able to split their attention to two different positions, pretty much could have worked pretty well.
Oh dear.
Oh dear.
Like
exactly.
like that round that they won, like that playing out, I didn't expect, I wasn't expecting it to get that close. Like it was a 2-on-2 at that point. Like that's the crazy thing. And then they rotating out of that one, they just walk in. Just Dino, he's like, oh hey guys, couple of cheeky frags, easy one guys. I meant to do that.
It was meant to happen.
Bomb located
Exactly
by
what he
attackers.
did, exactly what he planned. Maybe that was the plan for Homeless, just to flat out nearly lose Cafe their own pick and just do a comeback on Consulate to do a reverse sweep onto Fnatic. But that is, at least for now, there seems to be a little bit of a
10
stuff
seconds
of
to go.
myths and fables for now, as factually,
5 seconds to insertion.
Homeless are unfortunately at a quite heavy disadvantage here. Still,
Attackers
at least
are heading out to
points
defuse the
wise.
bomb.
See Tex this time around on the roam down below here with Virtue, so that they're getting that different level of vertical play here, and they've got those C4s they can really utilize off the back of Virtue's pulse players. Hayward quick with the Amaru. It's our first time really seeing it played out. Already top of the spiral staircase. It's gonna jump down. This one could get real cheeky.
This could get very cheeky very quickly, but Mentalist is already on the case. We'll be able to take this down. Can he get a second one here? But Dino to pick up a kill into Magnet and Tex to trade things out. Right now, this is all once again falling apart. 2 players remaining for HL. Make it 1, as it is only all up to Arlo to bring this back. Does manage to find the head of Tex, but already tagged up quite substantially. But with 2 minutes to go, Arlo can bring back the pace to himself if he manages to play his cards right.
1-on-3, certainly doable. Time in his favor. He's still got plenty of utility to play with. The breach charges. Got his lifeline on the go. But there we go, down from below. Good pick up there by Virtue there, playing on the pulse.
Yeah, good play by Fnatic once again, as they just keep on taking out bit by bit all of the plays. And that Amaru play paid off pretty well in the previous round, in round number 4, where Hayward was able to get a very nice peek onto Lusty, who was trying to roam up above. But as it stands over here in round number 5, the Amaru rush didn't really work out, as at that point Hayward was telegraphing his push very, very clearly. Well,
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
the round number 6 to start things off. We are back onto Garage. And yet again, there's a slight adjustment to the roster that we are seeing to come out from FNC. This time bringing in a Capcan, and as well as that, bringing in a Goyo. Dino calling this round for Kata. That's the Kata vase of our ANZ scene, for those who don't know. Busting out the Blackbeard plays.
10 seconds left.
If the rounds for Kata, it better be
This
good.
is for the
5 seconds
boys.
left before
Yeah, it is better be good. I have hope. I have hope. But I'm also a man of facts and reason.
Stay clear.
And I think they're about to get I think they're about to get railed. Oh dear. Virtue catches Hayward. Dino's gonna look for the refrag as he does just try and peek through in towards Piano. No, don't think he spots out Virtue there.
Yeah, Virtue is still in relative safety of the soft wall, but as it stands, Juicy's already opening up. The breach is there, and if Homeless would attempt to do so, they will be able to push in right onto the side and go for the plan. As for now, Virtue is still holding steadfast. He's close by and testing against Dino. Should be clearly in Dino's favor, but no, this will be up to Virtue to take the W here in that firefight, leaving only 3 men alive for Homeless.
This is for Kata. Like, what did he ever do for you, man? Like what is this? This is just rude at this point. A 5-on-3. We do see Juicy does manage to spot one out as Arlo finds that refrag finally onto Virtue. It took them an age though, and at the same time, Lusty from above does catch the man out, and a 4-on-2. Stig's still looking for a bit of info from above. Won't really have the opportunity there to catch him out, as it's just Juicy down below, the lone soldier, having to contest with this site defense at the same time, and this is another tall order for Homeless.
Yeah, if they will end up finishing the first half with a 5-1 scoreline, things are not going to be looking all well for the newly crowned Pro League roster, but as it stands for Fnatic, this is all just according to plan. Magnet with a fantastic nice 3-round burst from the Older will be getting rid of Stigs, and now it's all up to Juicy, the newly introduced sub for the Homeless roster. Man who was performing quite well, but as it stands, just like that, Fnatic going for the ballsiest peak possible. Well, just right straight from above. Hello, goodbye, good night.
Ooh, that's toxic, mate. That's toxic. 5-1 half. Fnatic in a dominating position once more. This is going to be a messy one.
Yeah, this is going to be a very messy finish. As yeah, I don't think a whole lot of people really expected Homeless to take this very far, but it is nonetheless still a very unfortunate case here. How Fnatic pretty much are just toying with prey at this point.
Look at those picks there. You know, into the knock. Just a
Defenders,
cheeky
protect
bait.
the bombs from being defused by
Back in
attackers.
towards the buck. Better set up here into the lobby straight away. Just look at that scoreboard. Pretty much, it's clean straight across the board for Fnatic. Everyone's just having a field day. Lusty's just, you know, trotting along in behind. On the other side, it's pretty similar for the boys of Homeless. You know, everyone really pretty much doing a similar amount of work. It's just the work they're doing isn't getting over the work that Fnatic is, and it's tough.
Yeah, it's a flat out unfortunate shutdown, but
10
for
seconds
Homeless,
to go.
it's still only the beginning of their road. Still only the beginning of
5
the
seconds to insertion.
push. And Hayward, that is not how you play. You don't damage your roamer.
Attacker's objective is to
please.
defuse a bomb.
Dino potentially holding somewhere around the main stairs, could potentially be assisting Stigs, but will be only copping a quick adrenaline shot with that stim pistol to ensure that he will be back up and running into the fray. Spawn peek from Stigs will be unfortunately unsuccessful, at least for now, but depending on how long the man will try to hold the angle, the success may vary.
Does hear Mentalist to his right. If he gets the timing there, that's fantastic. That's the line off the board as well. So that's a massive pick up at the very least. It just gives them that extra edge. It takes away that key piece of information that Fnatic can play with in the mid-round as they go in towards the siders. Tex just trying to spot this player out in towards the presidential suite. Won't find him, as that there is a shift. This one, again, it's going to be another tightly contested bomb site, but for the time being, at the very least, Homeless will hold their minor advantage.
Yeah, with all the firefights currently coming out, Virtue is the one to come out on top in the firefight against Arlo. So that is a Maestro off the board, and that is something that you don't want to lose halfway through the round, as Maestro is one of those operators that can leverage out quite heavily the outcome of a fair few rounds. So control of the garage has been fully taken, just so is the top floor. With that in mind, Virtue just whiffs the shots, and Dino will be able to take care of him, but with that in mind, also Magnet with the refrag.
And they're just aiming a little bit too high there as Tex does find Dino, but that just leaves a 1 versus 3. And again, this is going to be a tough ask for Stigs. Having to rotate across with the dock, but there's the line. Couple of seconds. That's locked down. 6 rounds on the board for Fnatic. He's not winning this one out. He's absolutely pinned down now. Ooh, nice pick up there onto Lusty. Does keep it competitive. That clock is really ticking down now, and this retake is just looking less and less likely as the seconds tick away. And you can see Tex here, perfect post plant. That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, well, Stigs for now will be going in for just a couple of exit frags out here, but that won't even matter really, as Magnet is the one to finish him off. Fnatic on a match point, series point, and potentially looking like the team that will be qualifying for the APAC LAN that will be happening on the 5th of January, I believe. And I think it was 5th of January?
Yes, 5th of January.
Yeah. But nonetheless, Cafeteria and Garage for potentially a last chance stand for Homeless, as Fnatic are bringing out the Amaro potentially just in for the baits as Juicy busts out the Chunka. That is pretty much describing me as well.
The 6th pick. Don't 6th pick off. Be a real man, Juicy. Go on. You know you want to. Be a man. Nah. Get a grip, honestly. Alright, going into the Legion. Didn't really want to put up with the Chunker. I guess, he just couldn't handle that power in his hands. It's quite like a, what's the term I'm thinking of? It's a massive, responsibility to hold such power in your hands as a mere mortal.
Right.
Like, what happens when you give a regular man the powers of a god? It's not fair. So, for the sake of competitive integrity, he switches off to the Legion. Fair enough.
Yeah. By the way, Chunky is confirmed Thanos. But yeah, for now, I'm quite curious how will Fnatic approach this potentially final round with Mentalist bringing out the Amaro, as the operator so far has been seeing quite just a few of the rush tactics to come out from her.
I mean, you can also use that for that late round burst. You can just bust their way in through a site. Use it for early map control. She can get very quickly up in the woods, meeting room, or even just taking admin control in the early stages. Dino does look to try and rotate back across there and actually spots out his opposite, but that's a great pick up there. Mentalist on the cut back across there, finds the headshot onto Dino, and that does give the early advantage here in the map and series event point, so to speak there. But Stig's quick rotation finds the scalp of Virtue. That does just take out the buck, and that's something that would have been very useful to have for Fnatic in the later stages of the round, and that's really a piece you wanted to keep on.
Yeah, with Buck now down, is going to be a little slight disadvantage for Fnatic, not being unable to hold their ground. But a C4 won't be actually touching Mentalist at all whatsoever, as the man will be granting himself a double kill. At this point, poor Hayward, unfortunately bullied, and both German operators are off the board.
You can just see now Mentalist Good damage done. Won't find the frag as Juicy does just stay alive there in that scenario. Will get healed back up. That Legion stays on the board, and that's another crucial piece to keep up if you are home, is to stay in this contest. And I say contest, and I do genuinely mean that this is a very competitive round here from Homeless. They've done a really good job of picking apart some of this upper level control that Fnatic have taken, and they're having to try and waste a lot of time retaking this area over towards Piano and even towards that spiral staircase where Juicy is currently holding on the Legion, and have to back away there off the back of that.
And with a minute to go, right now FNC might be slightly pressed for time, as this time they will have to go for a little bit more of a conventional push. So Arlo will be potentially the first man to attempt to go in for the play. Lusty now knows the general positioning of the Doc player, but Arlo is quick on the feet, will be rotating back to the back of the white van. And as it stands, 35 seconds left to go, 3 kills to get for both of the teams to win.
Yeah, this could be a series win for Fnatic. It could just be staying alive for Homeless, as Tex looks to be first point of contact. That ADS does just deny his flashbang as Lusty finds a pick onto Juicy. Stigs on the Maestro, looking to just try and spot something outside the garage. Might have just seen some toes as Arlo, I think he's just seen the bump pack come in there, and that's good damage there. He should line up too. That's massive. Arlo getting the down, cleaning up the frag there as Stigs will lock that one down, and Homeless find their second. They breathe a sigh of relief and just keep the spirit alive for a little bit longer.
Yeah, nice play. Already getting back up, as it's still a match point. We're still looking at a similar position where Homeless were back at the cafe, where they started to bring things back potentially only when match point was in effect. So the pressure is still on, but nonetheless, it was still a very good execution. A good pacing from Arlo as well, as the man was pretty much the reason why they've managed to deny the plant, and they managed to get the win there. As well as that, the general correlation between, the general cooperation with Stigs and his evil eye pretty much allowed for him to hold the fire, because otherwise I would have imagined that without with only sound cues to come out, Arlo would have gotten a little bit too hasty.
I think he might have struggled for the double there, potentially, if it wasn't for the play there from Stigs on the Maestro. That was a really good piece to draw the attention away. It made that Nomad snap directly to that general direction, and it gave him an opportunity to pounce, and it was a capitalization that they really needed in that round. And staying alive, 6-2, they can crawl it back. You know, overtime, it's not really that much of a stretch to ask for. 4 rounds, and Homeless are a good side. It's just, how is their consulate? How deep can they take it?
Yeah, this is a very good point, as Homeless can pull it off. They have the ability to make some very nutty plays, but 4 rounds here, that's a tall order, but nonetheless it can still very time could be there as well. Let's find out how will HL approach this. They have a pretty decent setup overall. It's one of those setups that they did use, I believe, back at the final days of the Challenger League, where they played, tempted to say either RM or a similar team.
So, yeah, I think it was one of the last days where they guaranteed their spot with that win.
Yeah. As it stands, Hayward playing a bit of a open idea about how he wants to approach. Magnet is down by that C4, but not out. So if Tex or Mentalist decides to go back down and pick Magnet back up, that should work out quite well. Another grenade will be downing Hayward to barely any health. And at this point, even a pre-fire through a wall will be pretty much ending the mute.
That's the definition. There's literally 1 HP there. In Virtue, like, he really wants that frag. Like, he is hounding for that one, as Hayward does rotate away there, using that hatch. Escaping with his life, but barely. But that'll be enough in the late round there. That Doc is still up, so they can certainly still keep him in the fight, as Dono still looking to just keep some presence over towards the yellow stairs, keeping him out of that skylight control.
Yeah, that's skylight control. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just curious to see that this western side offense mainly coming in from Fnatic. Normally, a lot of teams, they take that early admin control when they go for this site, but it's a lot of vertical play at this stage and not so much over towards that eastern side of the building.
Yeah. I'm curious, though, how long can HL keep away Fnatic from playing on the Skyline, but not for very long, as Virtue just manages to take out Arlo just like that, and it is all up to 2 players of Homeless to bring this back. Juicy and Hayward, the sub and the core against pretty much a Goliath that is Fnatic now. Albeit that neither of the sites have been populated with the Fnatic players, they are all up and around. Juicy picks up a kill onto Virtue, these knots around, and he did lose the control of the A side, and just like that, Mentalist to finish him off. GG, well played. As Fnatic will be the ones to stay victorious in the close qualifiers, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, Fnatic, a 2-0 win, 7-1, 7-2. Clean stuff. They'll be qualifying for that APAC LAN final. The winner of that progressing through to the 6th Invitational. They'll join Wildcard and Airwolf, who have already made it through from our APAC region thanks to their performances in Pro League. And just look at that one. A clean-cut scoreboard there for Fnatic. 9-9-9. 8 for Magnet, 6 for Lusty. Everyone doing their little bit there. Not great from Homeless, unfortunately, in that grand final, but like I said earlier, there's plenty that they can learn from that, plenty they can take away leading up in towards the Pro League season.
Oh yeah, this is definitely only the beginning for their grind at the Pro League, and so far already Homeless were able to show us that they far from being the worst team, and they are climbing up to that ladder for glory, really, as they have shown us that they can play well. They have been having some very great and very well coordinated plays, and even let's take a look also at the bracket as well to see how did the overall play go really out here, because for Homeless, they got knocked out pretty well, not pretty early, but they did have a bit of a odd turn of events, as they did get knocked out by Oddity. Pardon, was that Oddity?
Yeah, Oddity knocked them down. It was a 2-1 series.
Yeah, so, and then all throughout the whole lower bracket, they just plowed through any opposition. 2-0 for Vanquish, 2-0 for Fury, and at this point, technically a 2-0 for Oddity, whereas for Fnatic, it was also pretty swift. Vanquish, Fury, Oddity as well. Well, Oddity, unfortunately, was a forfeit, but nonetheless, still a great turn of events for both of those teams.
100%. And I mean, if you look at that one, like that's a flawless run through the bracket for Fnatic as well. Not dropping a single map. Oddity only dropping 1 in the lead up to that grand final. And of course, the 2-0 for Fnatic to take that victory and qualify for that land spot. But an excellent performance from both sides. A lot we can take away from that one in terms of, context, looking at how Mentalist and Tex begin to fit into this lineup for Fnatic and moving forward now into future events. Just thank you so much for joining me for this one, Cthulhu. It's been an absolute ride today, mate.
Oh yeah, it's been a roller coaster of emotions. So both the Homeless versus Fury and the Homeless versus Fnatic. It's been a fantastic day to cast those close qualifiers, and I'm grateful that you joined me on this ride as well, Matty.
Anytime, baby. Anytime. And shout out to all the guys in production. Shout out to Hawk. Shout out to Gaz. Shout out to Beerscotch for being there. Shout out to Dev. All the guys helping us out here to bring you guys this show. Shout out to you guys for watching. It's been a fantastic event, but that's going to do us for the ANZ portion of the 6 Invitational closed qualifiers. Fnatic are your winners, and they'll be making their way to the LAN on the 5th of January, so make sure you stay tuned to the Rainbow Six socials for more information on that. We'll see you guys next time.